2, 1, go.
ഓർമ്മകളോടിക്കളിക്കുവാനെത്തുന്നു മുറ്റത്തെ കരമാവിൻ ചുവട്ടിൽ മുറ്റത്തെ കരമാവിൻ
സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ടോ? സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ട്. സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ട്. സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ട്. അതെ.
With the Great Indian Kitchen, Trisham 2, Joji, Biryani and now Naya 2, it keeps being a pretty remarkable time for Malayalam cinema.
അല്ല എനിക്ക് അറിയാൻ മേലാത്തോണ്ട് ചോദിക്കുക താൻ ആരുവാ?
Angamali Diaries ist ein roher Film, der mitunter etwas zu zerfasert ist, durch seine Charaktere, die Kamera und seine intensiven Sequenzen.
ജർമ്മനാ അല്ലേടാ?
Man, those Malayalam movie titles.
അവിടെ നിർത്തുക.
Today, I'm not just talking about a very neat little film, but we also delve deep into the history of Malayalam cinema.
I used to be a football, lover during my school, college days. I couldn't much go because it requires a team and everything to do. I was switched over to tennis. I do play that tennis actually. First year in the National Film Award, I was the chairman for the Northeast, and then I was a jury for the entire India. So I've seen all these Indian language films. Today, Marathi films are a very, very good film, qualitatively and thematically more. And Malayalam also stand out because of the thematic strength or the variety or newness in bringing something.
I have a weak spot for the depiction of rain in movies. Probably half of the score I gave Inno Ninte Muidin was because of that. And in Tuvana Tumbikal, it plays an essential part as well. It is directly linked to Jaya Krishnan's longing for Clara. When he's writing the letter to fool Clara's father and it is pouring rain outside his window, it's in that moment that he dreams of her face for the first time. Mohanlal und Srinivasan, dass du das so prägend für das malaiische Kino war, ist eine Wucht. In der zweiten Hälfte geht dem Film zwar ein wenig die Puste aus, aber wenn wir ehrlich sind, wollen wir mehr davon.
Right. Good afternoon, everyone. Everybody in UK and Europe. And good evening to everybody who is watching this from India or that part of the world, and good morning to anybody who is in the North Americas and the South Americas. Super Sunday today. There's quite a lot of things happening. We had the Copa America football final this morning. Followed by that, there is the Wimbledon men's final going on, and we have the Euro Cup final later today. The other important one that's happening is this one, which is the Café event, where we have some very interesting topics to discuss. As you may have seen from the flyers, Malayalam cinema, the golden years, Malayalam cinema Suvarna Kalangal. It is very subjective. For different people, it will be different decades or years. But we have chosen some decades that we think will qualify as golden years, especially the 80s and 90s, when Malayalam cinema thrived. We had loads of really excellent movies that were commercially successful as well. And we are very fortunate to have our first guest, Sri P Vijayakumar. He has been in the center, in the middle of the golden years, which is the 80s and 90s, as we see it in today's session. So he is well known in the industry. He is the owner of a very popular production house, 7 Arts International Limited. Around 45 plus super hit movies that have been created. So I would like to make sure that I give due care in terms of inviting him with a lot more detail from someone soon. But before that, I think what I would say is Sri Vijayakumar, Sri Vijayakumar, we'll call him Vijayakumar Chetan today. So he will be able to provide us an inside-out view of the Malayalam film industry and the golden years where he was part of. We also have a great film enthusiast who's not Indian, and some of you may be surprised that somebody who speaks German, who lives in Vienna, Austria. I would like to make sure that we give a proper introduction soon. But we have Jimmy Cage, who is a film enthusiast, and he will be able to provide us an outside-in view of the golden years of Malayalam cinema. He's very popular on YouTube. He's got a YouTube channel where quite a lot of Malayalis have subscribed. So I would welcome everybody who is joining us on Zoom as well as YouTube to please subscribe and make sure that we contribute more towards propagating the good quality Malayalam movies that we provide, that our filmmakers make. So having said that, let me just quickly make sure that I introduce you to Dr. Suresh Nair. He is a neurologist at the East Surrey Hospital in UK, in Red Hill. So he will probably explain why he is probably the most apt person to introduce Sri P Vijayakumar. So over to you, Suresh Chetan.
എല്ലാവർക്കും നമസ്കാരം. ഞാൻ സംസാരിക്കുന്നത് മലയാളത്തിലായിരിക്കും. പി വിജയകുമാർ എന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ശരിയല്ല, കാരണം അദ്ദേഹം എൻ്റെ ചേട്ടനാണ്. എൻ്റെ ഭാര്യയുടെ അപ്പച്ചിയുടെ മകനാണ്. അപ്പോൾ അന്ന് 10-30 വർഷമായിട്ട് എനിക്ക് അദ്ദേഹത്തെ അറിയാം. അതുകൊണ്ട് ഇനി മോഹൻ ചേട്ടൻ എന്നാണ് വീട്ടിൽ വിളിക്കുന്നത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇനി മോഹൻ ചേട്ടനെന്ന് ഞാൻ തുടരും. അപ്പോൾ മോഹൻ ചേട്ടനെയും 7 ആർട്സ് ഇൻ്റർനാഷണലിലെയും ഒരു മലയാളി സിനിമ പ്രേക്ഷകനോട് ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന കുറച്ചൊരു അവിവേകമാണ്. കാരണം വെച്ചാൽ മലയാളത്തിലെ സിനിമാ നിർമ്മാതാക്കളുടെ നിരയിൽ ആദ്യത്തെ കാലഘട്ടമായ കുഞ്ചാക്കോ ഉദയ, സുബ്രഹ്മണ്യ സ്വാമിയുടെ നീല, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മഞ്ഞില, എം.ഒ. ജോസഫിൻ്റെ മഞ്ഞിലാസ്, ഇതിൻ്റെയൊക്കെ ശേഷം വന്ന ഏറ്റവും സ്ട്രോങ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള, ഏറ്റവും ശക്തിയായിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു സിനിമ നിർമ്മാണ കമ്പനിയായിരുന്നു 7 ആർട്സ്. അത് 80-ൽ തുടങ്ങി 900-കളിൽ 2000-കളിൽ അങ്ങനെ 10-45 സിനിമയിൽ കൂടുതൽ അദ്ദേഹം നിർമ്മിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതുകൂടാതെ മലയാളിയുടെ ദൃശ്യ ശ്രാവ്യമായ എല്ലാ ആവശ്യങ്ങളെയും തുല്യ നിലയിൽ നിറവേറ്റിയ മൂവികളാണ് അദ്ദേഹം നിർമ്മിച്ചിട്ടുള്ളത്. അത് പല മൂവികളും വളരെ സൂപ്പർ ഹിറ്റ് മൂവികളായിരുന്നു. മലയാളത്തിലെ അതുല്യന്മാരായ പല കലാകാരന്മാരെയും പലരും അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ കളരിയിൽ കൂടാണ് വളർന്ന് വലുതായത്, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ആൾക്കാരെ കൊണ്ട് അദ്ദേഹം മൂവി എടുപ്പിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. സ്മാർത്ത വിചാരം മുതൽ സ്വാതിരുനാളിൻ്റെ ബയോപിക്ക് പോലെ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ശുദ്ധഹാസ്യമായ അക്കരെ അക്കരെ പോലുള്ള നിരവധി മൂവികൾ അദ്ദേഹം മലയാളികൾക്ക് സമ്മാനിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഈ മൂവികളൊക്കെ മലയാളികൾ വളരെ സന്തോഷത്തോടുകൂടി കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് അതൊക്കെ വളരെ സൂപ്പർ ഹിറ്റുകളായത്. അങ്ങനെ ഇതിനൊക്കെ ഉപരിയായിട്ട് അദ്ദേഹത്തെ പറ്റി എനിക്ക് ഏറ്റവും കൂടുതൽ നല്ല ഓർമ്മകളുള്ളത് അദ്ദേഹം ഒരു നല്ല മനുഷ്യനാണ്. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഒരു നല്ല മനുഷ്യനെ ഒരു നല്ല കലാ വസ്തു അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു സിനിമ നിർമ്മിക്കാനാകത്തുള്ളൂ. അതുകൊണ്ട് ആ വിധത്തിലും അദ്ദേഹത്തെ വളരെ ക്ലോസ് ആയിട്ട് എനിക്കറിയാം. ഒരു നിർമ്മാതാവ് അഭിനയിക്കുന്ന വേദനയും വെപ്രാളവും പല സമയത്ത് ഞാൻ നേരിൽ കണ്ടിട്ടുണ്ട്. കാരണം അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ പല മൂവികളുടെയും പ്രിവ്യൂ കാണാനൊക്കെ ഭാഗ്യമുണ്ടായ ഒരാളാണ് ഞാൻ. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് സിനിമാ നിർമ്മാണം വളരെ ഒരു തുച്ഛമായ ഒരു കാര്യമാണെന്നാണ് പല മലയാളികളുടെയും തോന്നൽ. കാരണം മോഹൻലാലും മമ്മൂട്ടിയും ഹരിഹരനും എം ടി വാസുദേവൻ നായരുടെ സിനിമ ആകുമെന്ന് പലരുടെയും ഒരു തെറ്റിദ്ധാരണയുണ്ട്. അതിന് പൈസ മുടക്കാൻ ഒരാളില്ലെങ്കിൽ ഈ തിരക്കഥയും കക്ഷത്തി വെച്ചുകൊണ്ട് തെക്കോട്ടും വടക്കോട്ടും നടക്കത്തേ ഉള്ളൂ. അതുകൊണ്ട് അത് പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരാളാണ് അതിനകത്ത് ഏറ്റവും പ്രധാന വസ്തു എന്ന് ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. കാരണം അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ സ്വന്തം ഇഷ്ടാനിഷ്ടങ്ങളും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ സ്വന്തം അഭിപ്രായങ്ങളും ഒരു പരിധി വരെ കൈയടക്കി വെച്ച് ഒരു കലാകാരന് സ്വന്തമായിട്ട് ഈ സിനിമ നിർമ്മിക്കാനും അത് റിലീസ് ചെയ്യാനുള്ളൊരു അവസരം കൊടുക്കുക. അതാണ് ഒരു നല്ല നിർമ്മാതാവ്. അതാണ് മോഹൻ ചേട്ടൻ ചെയ്തതെന്ന് ഞാൻ മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നു. ഈ കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ ഈ പണ്ടത്തെ നമ്മുടെ സിനിമകളെയൊക്കെ നോക്കിയാൽ അത് ഒരു ഖണ്ഡകാവ്യം പോലെയോ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഒരു മഹാകാവ്യം പോലെയോ നീണ്ട സിനിമകളായിരുന്നു. അപ്പോൾ ഞാൻ ഇന്നലെ രാത്രി കണ്ടത് ആണും പെണ്ണും എന്നൊരു സിനിമയാണ്. അത് ഈ ഒരു ജാപ്പനീസ് ഹൈക്കു കവിത പോലെയാണ്. ചെറിയ ചെറിയ ബിറ്റ്സ് ആൻഡ് പീസസ്, എന്നിട്ട് അതൊരു സ്പൈറൽ ബൈൻഡിങ്ങിൽ 3-4 ആയിട്ട് നമ്മളെ കാണിക്കുക. അപ്പം മലയാള സിനിമ ഇങ്ങനെ ചുരുങ്ങി മഹാകാവ്യം ഖണ്ഡകാവ്യങ്ങളിൽ നിന്ന് ഹൈക്കു കവിതകളിലേക്ക് ചുരുങ്ങി വരികയാണ്. അത് OTT പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോമിലാകുമ്പോൾ ആൾക്കാർക്ക് 1 മണിക്കൂർ 3/4 മണിക്കൂറൊക്കെ കാണാനല്ലേ പറ്റത്തുള്ളൂ. ആ നിലയിലാണ് ഇപ്പോൾ മലയാള സിനിമ. ഒരു സ്ലോലി കുറേ കാലമായിട്ട് മലയാള സിനിമയിലെ നിർമ്മാതാക്കളുടെ പ്രസക്തി കുറഞ്ഞു വരികയാണെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്. കാരണം ഇപ്പം തിരക്കഥയുള്ളവൻ അവൻ തന്നെ ഡയറക്റ്റ് ചെയ്യും, അവൻ തന്നെ അഭിനയിക്കും, അവൻ തന്നെ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യും എന്ന നിലയിലേക്ക് സിനിമ മാറുകയാണ്. അതിപ്പോൾ അതിൻ്റെ ഗുണപരമായ മെച്ചമാണോ ഗുണപരമായ തുച്ഛമാണോ എന്നെനിക്കറിയത്തില്ല. ഏതായാലും താൻ ഭരിച്ചിരുന്ന കാലഘട്ടത്തിൽ മലയാള സിനിമയ്ക്ക് ഒരു നല്ല പേരും പ്രശസ്തിയും ഉണ്ടാക്കി കൊടുത്ത ഒരു നല്ല മനുഷ്യനാണ് GP വിജയകുമാർ. അതുകൂടാതെ അദ്ദേഹം ജൂറി അംഗമായിട്ടും അല്ലെ മലയാള സിനിമയിലെ നിർമ്മാതാക്കളുടെ സംഘടനയിലൊക്കെ വളരെ സ്തുത്യർഹമായ സേവനം അനുഷ്ഠിച്ച ഒരു വ്യക്തിയാണ്. അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ഭാര്യ സതി ചേച്ചി, 2 മക്കളാണ്. ഒരാൾ വിവേക്, അവൻ കൊച്ചിയിൽ ബിസിനസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. മോള് വന്ദന US-ലാണ്. ഇപ്പോഴും സിനിമയിൽ മോഹൻ ചേട്ടൻ ആക്റ്റീവ് ആണെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നത്. കാരണം ഞങ്ങളിപ്പം വളരെ കാലമായിട്ട് അത്ര ക്ലോസ് ആയിട്ട് ഒരുമിച്ചിരുന്ന് വെള്ളമൊന്നും അടിച്ചിട്ടില്ല. അതുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്കതിനെപ്പറ്റി വ്യക്തമായിട്ടൊരു ധാരണയില്ല. എന്നാലും ഹൃദയവും മനസ്സും ശരീരവും എല്ലാം സിനിമയിൽ ആണ് ഇപ്പോഴും എന്ന് തന്നെ ഞാൻ വിശ്വസിക്കുന്നു. അദ്ദേഹത്തിന് എല്ലാ ഭാവുകങ്ങളും നേരുന്നു. ഈ കലയ്ക്ക് വേണ്ടി മോഹൻ ചേട്ടനെ ഞാൻ ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു വെരി മച്ച്. അപ്പോൾ ഇനി അടുത്ത സെഗ്മെൻറ്റിൽ മിസ്റ്റർ അജയനെ ഞാൻ ക്ഷണിക്കുന്നു ജിമ്മിയെ ഇൻട്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യാൻ വേണ്ടി.
Ajay, please unmute yourself.
Thank you, Sureshata. Hi. So I have the great pleasure of introducing Jimmy to Kala family and to this audience. Actually, I came across Jimmy by accident on YouTube, but it was a wonderful accident. Because YouTube is filled with a lot of content these days, which are reaction channels or review channels as they call it, but it's mainly just trying to create some kind of a wow factor so that they can get a lot of people coming and viewing the videos or clicking and subscribing. But Jimmy's channel stood out completely from all of that, right? There was clearly a genuine love, or there is clearly a genuine love for movies, the craft of movie making, a love for the storytelling which happens in movies, and the performances and everything else which comes with that. And that's what actually got me hooked on to Jimmy Cage on YouTube. And of course, from then on, quickly understood that Jimmy lives in Vienna in Austria, and has been reviewing movies, world movies or world cinema for over 6 years actually. And I only discovered probably this year, a few months ago. And of that 6 years, he's actually been reviewing Indian movies for almost 4 years. And Jimmy has reviewed probably around 250 odd Indian movies. And of that, nearly 70 movies are Malayalam. So that was very fascinating for me. Somebody looking at our movies from outside and with a genuine love for it, trying to understand and enjoy those movies, perhaps with no context or background about the culture, and then knowing our culture from that outside in perspective. So Jimmy reviews around 3 movies a week. And of that, at least one of those movies a week, he reviews together with his best friend, Dennis. We wanted to bring Dennis in here as well today, but he has got some prior family appointments, so he couldn't be here. I would definitely recommend that you should go and subscribe his YouTube channel, which we will share the link to on the chat here. And follow Jimmy and watch his reviews. You will find a very fresh perspective to how Malayalam movies are viewed and enjoyed, and of course all of India's movies as well. Jimmy has reviewed various regional languages movies, not just Malayalam or Hindi or Tamil. So Jimmy moved to Vienna in 2006, actually to study film. So he's studied film science in Vienna, and he lives there now. And without much ado, I will, stop this introduction here, and we will catch up with Jimmy in a little while and hear more from him and have a very, very interesting interaction. Just to add to the points Sriram mentioned at the beginning, when we talked about the golden age, we feel that the current decade or the recent years has been a revival period for Malayalam cinema in terms of the content, the reach, and the popularity as such. So Jimmy actually came to know about Malayalam cinema and started watching Malayalam cinema with the new generation of movies, or the newer movies. And that's where he started. So the idea is also to kind of understand and look at the new age of Malayalam cinema and see if it's really a golden age as well, and how does it echo with the 80s and 90s. So on that note, I would request Suguchetan to please come on, Dr. Sukumaran Nair, our patron, to come and welcome both Jimmy and Vijayakumar Chetan. Thank you.
Thank you, Ajay. ലോകമെമ്പാടുമുള്ള എല്ലാ ശ്രോതാക്കൾക്കും കലയുടെയും എൻ്റെയും പ്രണാമം. കല എന്ന് പറയുന്ന കേരള ആർട്സ് ആൻഡ് ലിറ്റററി അസോസിയേഷൻ UK യുടെ സിൽവർ ജൂബിലി വർഷമാണ് ഈ കൊല്ലം. കോവിഡ് എന്ന മഹാമാരി വന്നത് തൊട്ട് ഒരു മാസത്തിൽ 2 തവണയെങ്കിലും നമ്മൾ അങ്ങോട്ടും ഇങ്ങോട്ടും ഒരു സംവാദത്തിലോ ഒരു സ്നേഹബന്ധം തുറന്നുകൊണ്ടേയിരിക്കുന്നു. അതിപ്പോൾ 16 മാസം കഴിഞ്ഞു, തുടരുന്നു. ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ കലാ കഫേ എന്ന് നാമകരണം ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിൽ വരാനായിട്ട് നമുക്ക് 2 വിശിഷ്ട വ്യക്തികളെ കിട്ടി. അത് ഒരു ഭാഗ്യമായിട്ട് കണക്കാക്കുന്നു. അവരെ നിങ്ങൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി ഞാനൊന്ന് സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യട്ടെ. ആദ്യമായി, ഹായ് ജിമ്മി പേജ്, Jimmy Cage. Hello, welcome to this program, and hope we are all waiting for you to hear from you, and let us make it as a memorable day. Thank you for joining us. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for having me. Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for the invitation and also for the really lovely, kind introduction. I'm really happy to be here.
Thank you. പിന്നീട് നമുക്ക് ഇപ്പോൾ സുരേഷ് പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ മോഹൻ ചേട്ടൻ എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്ന ശ്രീ GP വിജയകുമാറിനെ എങ്ങനെ സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യണമെന്നാണ് എനിക്ക് വാക്കുകളാണ് അറിയാത്തത്. പക്ഷേ ഒരു സുന്ദരനായ ഒരു സംവിധായകനും എപ്പോഴും ചിരിച്ച മുഖവുമായിട്ട് പരിചയപ്പെടാനും പറ്റിയതിലൊരു സന്തോഷം കൂടെ ഉണ്ട്. എന്തായാലും ഈ വാക്കുകളിൽ നിന്നും ഈ അനുഭവങ്ങളിൽ നിന്നും പകരാൻ പറ്റുന്നത് നമുക്ക് കേൾക്കാനായിട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ കാത്തിരിക്കുകയാണ്. ഞാൻ വിജയകുമാർ സാറിനെയും കൂടെ ഞാൻ ഇതിലേക്ക് സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ വിജയകുമാർ അനിയനെ എന്ന് പറയാം. ഞാൻ മൂത്തവനാണ്, അതുകൊണ്ട് അനിയൻ എന്ന് തന്നെ പറയാം. ഓക്കെ, സ്വാഗതം ചെയ്യുന്നു. നമസ്കാരം.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Suchata. So we'll now, get on with the conversation, starting with Jimmy. Before we start on, we'll probably watch a little bit, on Jimmy's YouTube channel and just get to know that. So Jimmy, once again, welcome. So let's start off the conversation by getting to know you a little bit more. As I mentioned to you, this is a family, Kala family, as we call it. We are all families here, and we welcome you to the family as such. So we want to know you as a person, and how did you develop the passion for movies and get into movie reviewing, and of course, one more very specific thing: how do you make time for all these reviews? 3 reviews a week.
Yeah, it's really not easy. It takes a lot of time every week to watch all these movies and then prepare the reviews, record the reviews, edit the reviews, and also I'm really trying to keep the interactions with the viewers up. So I'm trying to read all the comments, answer all the comments. So it's definitely a lot of work, but it's also a lot of fun and it's very rewarding. So it's work that's also fun, and I think that's the best thing you can do.
Absolutely.
And I'm trying to watch maybe like 5 movies a week, and at least 3 of them are Indian movies. So normally it's like every day in the evening I try to watch a movie, and then the next day I'm writing the review, and depending on the day, record it as well. And so that's how I can keep up a nice workflow.
Very much. It is all that effort you put into your reviews is definitely visible, because the way you actually look at a movie and approach it, you tend to go behind the scenes, really understand the people who have actually worked behind it and understand their portfolio of work and connect it with the culture and the context in which those movies are made. So that takes a lot of effort. So where does that passion come from? Clearly we would really like to know, how did it all start for you getting into movies?
I think as long as I can remember, I was always super passionate about movies from a very early age on. When I was a child, I watched all kinds of movies on television, like Star Wars, Indiana Jones, big Hollywood movies, and then also European movies. So all through my adolescence, I watched so many movies, and then it was also the only possible outcome to study film when I was done with school. So I went to Vienna and approached movies from a different side, because up until that point I was only a fan, only a movie fan. But then when I studied it, I delved deeper into film history and film theory and stuff like that. And then when we were at university, we started a movie review blog on the internet. Back in the days, it was still in German. So we wrote about movies every week, did movie reviews all in German, and visited some film festivals. And then after that, I started this YouTube channel. And at first I was only I try to review new releases, new movies that were coming out here in Vienna, and most of them were just Marvel movies, James Bond, so mainly again from the United States. And then someone recommended Bahubali: The Beginning to me, someone on the channel. And I think that was probably 4 years ago. And when I watched that movie, I was totally hooked. And from there on, we delved into Indian cinema as well. And it was it has been a great journey. And it's also quite funny because with the other movies that I was reviewing, American cinema, European cinema, it was like I had already pretty vast knowledge about them. I knew the directors, I knew the actors, I knew about the production histories, the different shifts through time. So I was kind of the expert when it came to those movies. But now starting with Indian movies, it was a little bit different because all of a sudden there was this completely new cinema that I was never that exposed to before. And now it was like the subscribers on the channel, they were the experts, and they were kind of directing us through Indian movies, and they recommended great movies to us because we had no idea where to start even and what should we review next. And but I think over the course of now 4 years and almost 300 Indian movies, we got a pretty good overview, I think. Of course, you can never watch all movies, there are just so many, but now we try to gain more knowledge as we watch more movies. And
so Jimmy, I think you mentioned about somebody referring you to Bahubali, and then you got hooked onto that. When we talk about Indian movies, as someone who's come out of India, most of the people refer or identify Indian movies to Bollywood, but then very few people know that Bollywood is just one industry within the Indian film fraternity. There are other industries as well. Now, how do you decide what to view? I know you mentioned some people refer, but then you could probably be inundated with requests, so you'll have to do something to then make a decision on what to review. And especially what we would like to know, what this audience would like to know is how did you actually stumble upon Malayalam cinema? Because technically, and if you follow the normal path, then it's Bollywood, and maybe from there it could go somewhere else. But Malayalam is not as big an industry compared to the other film industries. So how did you get there? Plus also some foreign reviewers, usually what we see for movie reviews, it's typically a reaction channel. So they watch and then they react to things. But you seem to have taken a different tack. So it'll be good to understand how you choose and how you stumble upon Malayalam cinema, and what made you decide that you'll stick with reviewing the actual artistic side of things.
Yeah. We actually thought a lot about doing trailer reactions in the past, and maybe we will incorporate some trailer reactions in the future. We're still thinking about it, but with trailer reactions, it was also never really our thing. It always felt a little bit weird just to watch a trailer, because a trailer in the end, it's just promotional material, and a movie can be bad but have a great trailer. A movie can be great, have a bad trailer. So it's only the promotional material. And I mean, it's a kind of an art form in itself. So I'm not denigrating trailers here, but we were always interested in watching the entire movie and learning about the movie and the filmmakers, and not just watch the trailers, because that's kind of a shallow approach, I think. So it was always I mean, we were always lovers of movie, and it was no question that we want to watch the movies. And we stumbled upon Malayalam cinema pretty early on in our exploration of Indian cinema. I think it was like maybe the 9th or 10th review. And I think there were people that were recommending Drishyam to us. And I think Drishyam is a movie that's really widely known, not just in Malayalam cinema, and there are many remakes of it, of course. So we watched Drishyam. That was our first Malayalam movie, and we where we were really positively surprised because it was the tone and the pacing were so different from other movies that we have seen. It was so kind of lean back. There was such a long introduction to this family of George Kutty and Mohanlal's character. We see him at work and stuff like that. So it was really, because we read the synopsis and we knew it's a kind of a thriller. So we were really surprised that it was so chill for a long time. And then the second movie that we watched was Toni Mutalum Dirikshakshiyum, which was also one of the hardest titles to pronounce for me.
Well done now, you're getting it.
Thank you so much. Now I think you can wake me up in the middle of the night and tell me, hey, say the name, and I think I'm able now because I've said it so many times. But that movie again was so different from the other movies that we've seen. And from there on, it was just that Malayalis were coming to the channel and were happy with our reviews and just recommending new movies every day. And then we, to kind of figure out how we should go on with the channel, we created this list on a platform called Letterboxd. It's a social media platform for film buffs. So we created a wish list. So whenever someone recommended a movie to us, I put it up into that list. But just, I think, a few weeks or months later, the list was already more than 100 titles. And there was simply no time to review all of them. So we are really kind of strict when it comes to what we are reviewing. So when people recommend movies to us, we check the movies out on the IMDb. We check some movie reviews by the film press. And then check the Wikipedia, what people are saying, and and if it sounds interesting to us and if it has good reviews, then we watch the movies. But of course, as time went on, now there are directors, actors that we are familiar with, and of course, those are also factors that factor in when we decide what to watch and review next.
Jimmy, that's fascinating, actually, that journey of discovery, right? And I think that journey continues even now, isn't it? Yeah. Just curious to know, movies are usually based on the culture of the land. It's a reflection of the culture there, right? Now, coming in and discovering Indian movies and Malayalam movies, you may have had some preconceived ideas or presumptions about how the culture is, how the life is in India, etc. And when you actually started this journey of discovery with the movies, how was that, finding out about and knowing the culture? Was that an obstacle or was that a discovery? And if so, was it a revelation or a validation? Like, how did you relate to the culture overall?
I think it was definitely a revelation. I honestly knew very little about India beforehand. Of course, I knew some of it. I knew about some of the religion, about Hinduism, and of course about Bollywood. But I had, for example, no idea just how many languages there are in India and how many different movie industries there are in India. So that was really a revelation. And when it comes to the cultural barrier or differences, I think on a basic level, I think it's quite easy to relate to other cultures and other people, because we are, after all human beings, and we all share mostly the same emotions, motivations, what makes you tick, what makes you think, what makes you want certain things. So I think it's not that difficult to relate to other cultures, and there's just something about stories, about storytelling, about movies that's very universal. Of course, there are always things that are completely lost in translation or partly lost in translation. And there are also movies that are so heavy on dialogue, and we, of course, have to read the subtitles. And then it's always more difficult to fully get a movie when it's so heavy on dialogues. But then other movies are, for example, Jallikattu, there aren't so many dialogues, and it's more about the images, about the visuals, about the tone, the atmosphere. And oftentimes those movies are easier to grasp for us. And so I think it varies from case to case, from movie to movie. And thankfully, we live in the time of the internet, so it's pretty easy to look up a movie on Wikipedia and read some background information. And sometimes when we watch a movie, we watch like 30 minutes, and then we are not sure if we really are on the same page as the movie right now, if we get everything. And then we sometimes pause the movie, check the Wikipedia page, go through the story, and then yeah, okay, actually we did get pretty much the most of the stuff. So yeah, but it has been a super interesting, fascinating journey, and of course it still is. And just for example, about Kerala, I knew absolutely nothing before. I was pretty ignorant, I have to say. And yeah, when we first watched Malayalam movies, it was completely fresh and new to us, and we had also no idea that, for example, Christianity has been a big part of Kerala as well, and stuff like that. For example, also the clothes, the fashion, what people are wearing, stuff like that, also very new to us. And it was, at the beginning, it was kind of fun to see the dhoti, it was so awesome to see the actors always rearranging the dhotis and stuff like that. So it has been a lot of fun and a fascinating journey.
Excellent. It's great to hear how you describe the culture through the Kerala culture through the clothes and the food, because some of us who are watching this are not in Kerala, and the way you describe, it's nostalgic. We'll actually adopt you as our fellow Keralite.
Thank you.
So you mentioned you got hooked when you saw the first movie Drishyam, but then around 69 or 70 movies that you've reviewed, and the latest one, Sarah's, has also been reviewed. So what was that hook that kept going? So you've done this long marathon with all these new movies that have come in Malayalam, compared to maybe the other industries where you haven't done as many. So what was that hooked you into Malayalam?
I think first and foremost, it's just the quality of the films. This so-called new wave of Malayalam cinema has been really, really great and rewarding. And there were so many movies that got recommended to us that we really liked. And there were only very few misses, very few movies that didn't really appeal to us, that we thought were a little bit lacking. But most of these newer movies were really excellent. And just the quality of it, the most of the time the screenplays, the story themselves were really fresh and different. And also I think with a lot of Malayalam movies, the cinematography is really excellent. And I've said it in many reviews that just to see the beautiful landscape of Kerala was always just so wonderful. And if there was a new Malayalam movie, I already knew that when it's set in Kerala, that probably it will have a lot of great visuals. And I still remember I watched Kumbalangi Nights here in the movie theater, because here in Vienna, there's actually one theater that every now and then shows Indian movies. Now it has been a long time because with the pandemic, cinemas were closed. And I think that one hasn't shown any new Indian movies right now. But a few years ago, I watched, for example, Kumbalangi Nights, and it was one of the best movie experiences in that year for sure. And also, I mean, we have done a little bit more Hindi movies, but the second regional cinema is definitely Malayalam. And it's also because the feedback on the channel was so great. We got a lot of views with Malayalam movie reviews and a lot of great feedback, and many people that were super happy with what we are doing, and they were commenting, liking the stuff, sharing the stuff, more than with other industries in India.
Thank you. Ajay, you're on mute. Can you say something?
Sorry, I didn't realize I had gone on mute in that time. Okay. I think that kind of is a nice segue to what I wanted to ask after this. It's about the subscribers, the followers, the audience, right? You obviously have tens of thousands of followers or subscribers on your YouTube channel, and there are people who are commenting, requesting movies, having opinion around your opinions, and so on and so forth. So it's like a celebrity status in a way, right, on YouTube. So how do you find that kind of fan base or follower base who and their asks, their demands, their interactions?
Honestly, I really have no clue. I think they just found us somehow and recommended, like I told you, Drishyam, and from there on it was just growing. And yeah, it's a really good question. It's just, I think that we are very steady in our output of movie reviews. So there isn't a single week where we didn't review a new movie. So I think this steady output of content and talking about old movies, but also newer ones and the newest ones, I think it just grew very naturally, very organically. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
And are they kind? Are they overwhelming?
They are definitely overwhelming. Most of them are really kind, and the experience has been really great. But a lot of people are also very demanding. A lot of people think that just because we are two guys on the internet and doing movie reviews for free, many people think that they can just demand stuff from us. So they write like, "Hey, please review this movie," or not even with a please, just review this movie. And then a few weeks later, they are, "Hey, I recommended the movie a few weeks ago. You still haven't reviewed it. What's up?" And I think like, "Hey, we're doing this completely for free. And be patient, we will come to the movies," because there's so many that are recommending movies, and he's not the only one, or she's not the only one.
Excellent. Looks like you really now understand the Malayali audience and the way we like to interact with people, because people try to become very close very quickly, and then then the demands that we expect.
Yeah.
So brilliant. Okay. Okay, Ajay.
Yeah, I think Sriram, let's kind of take a moment and watch something for a moment to set the mood for the next part, don't we?
Yeah.
Viriyan, which means the servile or the slave, was written and directed by Adur Gopalakrishnan.
Matilukal, which means the wall or walls, was shown at the Venice Film Festival in 1990, where it won the Fibresci Prize as well as the UNICEF Award. It also won Best Malayalam Film and Best Actor at the National Film Awards in India.
And well deserved. Matilukal is based on the autobiographical novel of the same name by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir that focuses on the prison life of Bashir.
It's a very carefully staged movie. There's no hectic in this film. In an early scene, Bashir asks the jail warden, played by Tilakan, why such a hurry? They are imprisoning him for more than 2 years, so he's in no rush.
Exactly. Adur Gopalakrishnan, who wrote and directed the movie, gave the story all the time that it needed, and he succeeds in keeping the viewers interested. It's just very well made. Gopalakrishnan, who by the way only made 12 feature films to date, he did a lot of documentaries, is in full control of this story.
Anantaram translates to thereafter. And this film was a very special experience for me, that it sucked me into its peculiar atmosphere and that it felt like I was slowly drowning in this beautiful sadness. The images, the music, it had a profound effect on me that's hard to describe. After we've already watched and reviewed the fantastic Matilukal and Viriyan, this was my third exposure to the fascinating cinema of Malayalam filmmaker Adur Gopalakrishnan.
So yeah, I think it was good to just quickly show that so that we can set the scene for the next question that the audience may relate to. So yeah, you've covered a few movies that Adur Gopalakrishnan made, and I can see you got lots of things to say about the excellent work that he does It is a very popular, very renowned, and he's a master craftsman in his area of film direction. I think what really was interesting to see from our side was the extent to which that you go to understand these directors, not just Adur Gopalakrishnan. I think you've done a few on Satyajit Ray and I think it was Mani Ratnam. So you had some focused kind of reviews as well. So with Adur Gopalakrishnan, I think you also went to the extent of actually checking out his birthday. And I think with the review on Vidayan, you released around his birthday, 80th birthday of the great director. So it's amazing, it's the effort that you put in, and that's what we really admire you for. So what prompted you in actually choosing these three directors that I named earlier? From our point of view, yeah, they are brilliant, but did you come across with your own reviews about these directors, or was that through hearsay?
I think about Satyajit Ray was probably, yes, I'm unmute. Satyajit Ray was probably the only director that we knew beforehand, because his Apu trilogy is so beloved all over the world and not just in India. But Mani Ratnam and Adur Gopalakrishnan, filmmakers that we stumbled upon through this exploration of Indian cinema. And I think I'm not sure about Mani Ratnam, but with Adur Gopalakrishnan, I think it was one of our patrons that asked us to review Mati Lukal. We have a Patreon account where people can support us, and they can also directly pick movies for us. And I think it was a patron that picked Mati Lukal. And that movie was such a revelation for us, because I think it was also the first one that we have seen that had a very young Mammootty in it, or Mammootty in his prime. Up until that point, I think we only saw him in newer releases. And I think when you're passionate about movies, I think it's always the case, or most of the time the case, that the focus of interest shifts from the faces before the camera, like the big stars, the actors, to the ones behind the camera, the ones who are actually creating these movies, to the directors. And I think it was the same with us. The more we delved into Indian cinema, the more we were interested in the directors. And Adur Gopalakrishnan was one of the biggest revelations for us. And we hope to watch many more of his movies. Up until this point, we only saw 3, but all 3 were really so unique and so different and really great.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yes, Jimmy. And Jimmy, I think you have a lot more to discover, which I'm sure you're aware. You only started your journey on the older movies, isn't it? The 80s, 90s, the golden years we mentioned earlier. Adur Gopalakrishnan represented one genre, one style of that period, and there is so much variety out there. I know you watched a number of different director movies from that time as well. But my question is not that. My question is actually around the new. Your journey started with Malayalam movies by watching the newer movies. You mentioned about that earlier as well, right? And the directors of the current decade, like the Rajiv Ravis, Dilish Pothan, or Mahesh Narayan and others, right? Lijo Jos Pellicheri and those directors, they all actually, whenever they talk about their inspiration, the movies they make, where do they actually draw the inspiration from? They talk about the movies of the 80s and the 90s and the directors and the makers and the production houses of those times, and how that has influenced them and how they are doing that. Now, you've approached it by seeing their movies and then going and discovering the movies of the past, the 80s and 90s. So would like to hear your view, right? Looking from that lens, and of course the outside-in lens as well, how do you see that kind of connection between the new and the movies of that period, right? Do you see a connection? And also, what is different about the new movies? What has been striking be it on a generic terms or on a specific director or making style perspective. Would like to hear your views.
Yeah, I think we definitely see some connections, but it's also a little bit difficult because with about 70 movies that we've seen, I have to look up how many older movies we have seen now. I think it's probably only a handful, so it's a little bit difficult to make the connections. But for example, something that we stumbled upon is this the pacing of Malayalam movies. That's very different from, for example, what we have seen from many, for example, Telugu or Hindi movies. We tried to coin the term of Malayalam chill, and it was something that we stumbled upon very early on, that a lot of these movies have really long introductions and they really take their time to establish the setting, establish these characters, and oftentimes the stories begin quite casually, and it's oftentimes about just normal people and not these larger than life hero types. And this slow pacing and these immersive atmospheres, for example, something that we have seen in some older movies like Kiridam, for example, and in newer ones like Angamali Diaries, or not, maybe Angamali Diaries is a little bit more extravagant, but like Kumbalangi Nights, for example. And yeah, these new directors, like you mentioned, Dilesh Potan and Lijo Jos Pelisseri, they are really creating pretty amazing movies, and it's awesome that more and more people on an international level are recognizing these movies. And if we haven't started a channel, I'm afraid that I would have missed out on many of these movies. And I think through channels like mine and other YouTubers and international press, and now just with Jallikattu being the official entry for the Oscars by India, I think more and more people are getting their eyes on these movies, and that's great.
Yes, when you talk about these new gen, or we call it new gen movies, but the newer Malayalam movies, there may be things that like the comedy aspects or certain things that are explained, which we think only somebody who lives or who knows Malayalam may get it. The nuances, the cultural, or so I think I'm talking more about relating to the content, right? So is that something that you have found difficulty in, or over the course of reviewing the 70 odd movies, have you really understood, or have you had another view on how to view these kind of jokes or references that come in these movies? How have you taken that in the last few years?
Yeah, I think the more movies we watch, the more rewarding the experience is. I wouldn't say that it was ever really difficult. I think we were just, when we watched the first movies, there were just so many more things that went over our heads and that we didn't quite value or appreciate. We weren't really aware of that. And people, for example, when we watched what's the name? I don't know, but a movie with Tilakan, and someone just mentioned that the actor Tilakan is one of the absolute legends in Malayalam cinema. And when we watched the movie, we had no idea about that, and for us it was just a pretty good actor in the role. But then people told us that's Tilakan, and after that movie, we watched some older movies like Kiridam with Tilakan. And so the more we watch, the more we get familiar with the faces, with the cultural nuances, and it gets more and more rewarding, I think.
Excellent, thank you.
So it's a conversation about Malayalam movies, and you cannot have a conversation about Malayalam movies and not refer to Mohanlal and Mammootty, right? So would like to take your views on, you having watched a number of their movies, new and old, about their approach to the movies, their acting, your experience of watching their movies.
Yeah, it was definitely a really fascinating thing to delve into Indian cinema regarding this whole star factor, Because, I mean, in Hollywood, there are also stars, but the whole star system in Hollywood or in European cinema is more or less a thing of the past. Nowadays, of course, there's still Tom Cruise, The Rock, there are big stars, but there's not this draw anymore to the stars like it was in the golden age of Hollywood in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, and so on. And when we watched Indian cinema, it was really surprising to us that people were still so head over heels about their favorite actors. For example, when we watched a Rajnikant movie here in the movie theater in Vienna, people were losing their minds. And for us, that was a completely new experience. We had no idea that stars were still so huge in India. And it's, of course, a lot of fun to watch these stars in the movies. And it's also kind of funny or actually pretty sad. But both Mohanlal and Mammootty, they have acted in so many movies. I think their IMDb list is almost like 400 movies each. And up until we started with the channel, we actually have never really heard about them. And that's kind of strange. And I think now we live in a time where hopefully that's changing. And a lot of people were always asking us, which one do we prefer? Are we more into Mohanlal? Are we more into Mammootty? And for us, that was always so funny because for us, it's just we are mostly interested just in great films. And every actor has good films, has bad films, has great performances, has good performances. Sometimes there's not so good performance. And for us, it was never a question that we have to decide which one we like more, because both of them have done so many movies that we love, and both of them have done some movies that we weren't that attracted to. And when I really have to, when someone is putting a gun to my head and I have to decide, I probably say like Mammootty, but it's completely subjective, just because I watched the Tamil language movie Perambu very early on, and that was an absolutely groundbreaking, great movie, and Mammootty totally blew me away with that film. But Mohanlal has, of course, also done his fair share of great movies, and like Iruva, for example, or Kiriran. And it was really crazy for us to see that people are so like that. There's this rivalry. It's maybe you can compare it to, like, in the United States, it's like always like Marvel movies or DC movies, and you have to decide which one is better. And I'm always like, I really don't care too much if the movie is great.
Yeah, I didn't phrase the question Mohanlal or Mammootty, because that's not right to ask you something like that. And thanks for your answer on that. It is a topic we have to touch upon because it's about Malayalam movies. Now let's do a slight segue. Sriram, do you want to play something? We can just.
പെണ്ണല്ലേ ഇടുക്കി ഇവളാണ് മിടുമിടുക്കി കുറുനിരയിൽ ചുരുൾമുടിയിൽ പുതുകുറിഞ്ഞി പൂതിരുകും മൂന്നാറിൻ മണമുള്ള കാറ്റ് പാമ്പാടും പാറകളിൽ കുളിരുടുമ്പൻ ചോലകളിൽ കൂട്ടാറിൽ പോയി വരും കാറ്റ് Silently holding me in my eyes it's on ഇതുവരെ നീ കിനാവിനോരത്തെ പൂവേ
that slice of life, Malayalam chill, as you were saying. I would I would request Suvichatan to come and ask a question if you don't mind, Suvichatan.
Okay. Jimmy, you have watched a lot of Malayalam movies within a short period, and you have seen the landscape as well. You appreciate it. And you said, please, it's not used, but it is a common thing which is not used. That we know. And have you tasted our Kerala food, especially kappa meene, kari meene, mingari in a banana leaf? Have you tasted these type of foods?
First of all, I have to say, now I'm really hungry after those images, after that little clip. I've only, unfortunately, tasted a little bit of Kerala food. I have tasted Kerala chicken curry just a few weeks ago because there was a subscriber. I think he lives in Vienna as well, and he recommended a small Indian restaurant to us. And then there was the pandemic and the restaurant was closed, but now it is open again. And I went there just 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I had some Kerala chicken curry, and it was really delicious. But for my taste, it was also quite spicy. It was a hot day in Vienna anyway, but with the spicy food, I was really sweating. And I hope to try out many more dishes in the future for sure.
Do you have any plan to visit Kerala?
Yes, I do have. Dennis and I talked about visiting India for a long time now, and it was an idea to do it this year, but then everything changed, of course, and now we really think about visiting India next year. And Kerala would definitely be very high on our priority list of places to go visit for sure. So hopefully next year, and of course I will make an announcement on the channel and tell people about them. And let them know.
We will welcome you. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can come here as well to taste. For a taste to UK. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Suvichatan. Just another question more around the process of how you go about doing the reviews, right? So what do you, is it deciding which movie to review next or watch and review next, or is it actually finding that good quality print with subtitles, or is it the process of watching the movie itself with the cultural nuances and trying to understand it, or is it the effort which goes after that in terms of reviewing the movie with understanding the context, the background, the makers, the people who work behind the scene? All of these obviously have varying levels of difficulty, I would assume. Of this, which is the thing which is the most difficult for you when it comes to reviewing Malayalam movies?
I think watching is definitely not it, because watching is just the best part of the whole procedure. And reviewing it actually depends on the movie. There are movies, for example, if you really like a movie or if you really don't like a movie, that's most of the times the easiest cases to review it, because when you really love a movie, it's pretty easy to say what elements did you like, what technical elements, cinematography, editing, the story, the characters, the acting. So those reviews are actually the most fun to write and record if a movie is really great in our eyes. And actually, it's a pretty good point about finding a good print with English subtitles. That's actually a really, maybe that's the hardest part of it all, because we get so many recommendations all of the time, but just getting the recommendations doesn't mean that the movie will just magically appear in my living room and we can just watch and review it. So especially when it comes to older movies, and especially older Malayalam movies, it has been quite difficult to find good prints with English subtitles. And I think maybe also many people might not care that much about the image quality, but for us, it's kind of important to have at least DVD quality, because if the image is completely blurry, or if the aspect ratio is wrong and things are cropped or distorted, I think it really affects the viewing experience. And we always try to find the version that best kind of It can never reproduce the experience of watching it in a movie theater, of course, but we would like to get the best quality available. And then English subtitles is, of course, a must for us. And we have seen movies with pretty great English subtitles, but we have also seen some movies where the English subtitles are really subpar and not that good at all. And unfortunately, a lot of movies, not a lot, but maybe a third or so, don't incorporate subtitles for the songs. And that's always a bummer. So you watch a movie, it's subtitled, you understand everything. And then there's a beautiful song and there are no subtitles at all. And you, of course, from the images, from the music, you kind of get what it's about, but it would, of course, be way better to get subtitles. Even if it has subtitles, of course, subtitles can never completely catch the nuances and the rhymes and stuff like that. But at least it gives us a better understanding what a song is about. So that's also sometimes a problem.
Do you think having that level of quality would improve the reach of Malayalam movies? Do you think the older movies will get watched more globally?
I think definitely. I think we actually live in a pretty great time for discovering international cinema, for discovering Malayalam cinema, because with platforms like Amazon and Netflix and in other streaming services, it has become so much easier to watch movies from all around the world. And it's maybe also a plus side from the pandemic, if you can say it like that, that now movies get released on Amazon Prime instead of a movie theater. And that's, of course, kind of sad, but also positive that other people from other countries in the world can watch the movies as well. So that's great. And I think it would definitely increase the visibility of older movies as well, if they are available on streaming platforms. But on the other hand, I, of course, understand that it's also a business and many people are not that interested in classics and older movies. So I think it will always be kind of a niche thing to watch older movies. But then on the other hand, we were surprised how many views we got for movie reviews for older movies. I think our Kiridam review is one of the most popular, and we never thought that would happen with a movie this old.
That's interesting. Right. So, I think we will change tack, move into a more of a interactive kind of a discussion with, in a short while. So just taking a pause now, I'll hand it back to Sriram. I think Sriram has a message for all the viewers as well. And then we'll go to the next part, handing over to Uni after that. Sriram.
Yeah, so I know we've been playing a few video clips to get everyone the frame of reference on what we're talking here. So I have a message that came from YouTube that they have detected some copyrighted audio and videos, and it may be suspended, but or temporarily blocked. But we don't think it may happen because there aren't any that we are using that are outrightly blocks. But people who are on YouTube, if something happens, please use the same URL, tiny.cc/Café, and we will restart the stream if it gets blocked. So I just want to get that message out there. Thanks, Ajay.
Thanks, Sriram. And thanks, Jimmy, for all those insights and sharing your views on various aspects of the cinema viewing and reviewing experience. I would request Unis to come on now and start off the interaction with Vijayakumar sir, please.
Sure, Ajay. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jimmy. It was really great to get an outside-in perspective on Indian cinema and Malayalam cinema, and also to hear your views on the new age, the new emergence of the golden years of Malayalam cinema and Indian cinema, which we are part of now. So thank you for that. And I think this is the time for all of us in the audience to get nostalgic, because guess what? We are going to the 80s and 90s, which was, again, a golden era of Malayalam cinema. Now, this is the time when we had great directors, fantastic scriptwriters, we had great actors, but we also had larger-than-life movies. But we all know that that's not all that makes a good movie. We had people of of gravitas, people who had the motivation and the passion to produce such movies. And today we are fortunate to have in our midst a stalwart, Sri P Vijayakumar sir, who we fondly call Vijayakumar Chetan. So we would like to extend a very warm welcome to you, Vijayakumar Chetan. And
thank you very much. Yeah, please go ahead.
With your permission, it has to be highlighted that the production house that he founded, Seven Arts International Limited, it's a unique banner in so many aspects. It has given us so many box office hits, the likes of Thalavatam, Kadodu Kadoram, Panjagni, Bugundeta Sumutravilikunu, Parinayam, and so on and so forth. I mean, some of these movies are in the banner behind me, as you can see. In fact, so many box office hits, but that's not at all, because his production house has had 10 National Film Awards. The production house has also had 9 International Panorama Awards. And not only that, we have a multifaceted personality in Vijayakumar Chetan. He is the vice president of the Film Federation of India as on date. And he's also been a jury member for the National Film Awards. And he's been part of the jury for the Northeast and also for the entire, for entire India. So without much ado, Sriram, can I just request you to play the video that we would like to welcome Vijayakumar Chetan.
കളിക്കുവാനെത്തുന്നു മുറ്റത്തെ ചക്കര മാവിൻ ചുവട്ടി മുറ്റത്തെ ചക്കര മാവിൻ ചുവട്ടി ഓർമ്മകൾ ഓടിക്കളിക്കുവാനെത്തുന്നു മുറ്റത്തെ ചക്കര പൊയ്കയിൽ കുളിർ പൊയ്കയിൽ പൊൻവെയിൽ നീരാടും നേരം പൂക്കണ്ണുമായി നിൽക്കുന്നുവോ തീരത്തെ മന്ദാരം കാറ്റിൽ തൈലഗന്ധം നീറ്റിൽ പൊന്നു ചന്തം പൊയ്കയിൽ കുളിർ പൊയ്കയിൽ പൊൻവെയിൽ നീരാടും നേരം.
So, Vijayakumar Chetan,
yes.
If we can start, then, people relate to cinema and think of cinema as an art form, as a medium, as larger than life, as so many things. But we also know that a cinema is a business. So, as a person who spent almost 5 decades in this arena, in this area, can you maybe start out by saying, how did this all start for you?
Yeah. First of all, let me thank the Kala team for this wonderful arrangements and having conducted this program, and I'm glad I could participate in it. And I thank all of you once again. With regard to my entry to the films, I would say it was more accidental than planned. I was not a real film addict or anything, but I used to like movies. But my problem was, like today, those days also, there were more bad movies than good movies. And seeing bad movies was very disappointing. So I was not very much an addict. But my younger brother, Jayakumar, happened to be very, very keen on film career. In fact, he wanted to get into direction and all creative areas. So I was in Bombay, settled there, doing some business exports and things like that. And he was not showing much interest in the business areas, and he only ventured into this cinema related activities. And it so happened my wife happened to be from Chennai based. I mean, they're Malayalis, but Chennai based. So we had some contact with the film people in Chennai, like Mr. Hariharan, Mangabu Alakshan, all those people were known to family. So this has led to a sin where my brother got involved and we ventured into some production. And the first production experience was bitter in the sense we were not prepared for a basic business module at that point of time. It was more just my brother wanted to know the feel of the pulse of the film and get into it. And we all said, okay, children, let's make an attempt. But in terms of finance and in terms of the merit of the project, it was disappointing. And I decided that I won't be getting into it anymore. But I mean, still in Bombay only. Well, my brother still had the passion. But again, a coincidence happened that the director of the first film, which I did not really participate, produced by Manga Boalashnan with our finance and all things, film then, it was called Pomada the Pen. That film did not do with Prem Nasir and all. He wanted to make a commercially safe project, but it didn't work out very well. So one day in Bombay, I happened to meet our director Hariharan. He came to remake that Malayalam film Sharapanjaram to Hindi. So I met him just like that in the club, and then he said, no, let's see, Vijayakumar, we meet and all. Because in my first film project, I was only there a day or two. So we met, and then he told me, see, film business is a viable, interesting, and prestigious business, but it is all unprofessionally going on. The trend, the making, the marketing, all these things are to be studied. And if you want to do as a business, we have to take a serious look into it and plan for it and all. And he has suggested, that was in 1984, he said the trend of the movies have changed from the presidency type of films to these two. Mr. MT was then films and such scripts are happening, and why don't we think and all. So it gave me a second thought, no doubt about it. Why don't we do as a Pakka business model? Having lost money as well as, made a sorry figure, in the first attempt, we also had that urge in us, okay, well, let's try. I said, sir, let's think of it. He said, let us meet MT. And after we meet Mr. MT, and I think Hariharan sir has already done a hit with him, Idavadile Pichamunda Pucha film, which was a hit and a very, I appreciated movie. So we said we'll meet MT, and I came down from Bombay, and sir used to come to Chennai very often. He had some base here also. We met him, and we had a series of discussions, meeting and all. And believe me, it is that one personality which impressed me that I must try this as a business module, and we have the right man and the right people. And no doubt Hariharan sir was an excellent, very disciplined professional. So a decision was made that we will get into film production, and we also would do the distribution. We won't go for any other outside, depending on any marketing or any such things. And then two projects were simultaneously discussed. And my brother also came back, and we had a meeting with Bharathan, and Kathodu Kadaram also initiated. So the film journey took off from there with about 2 or 3 film projects already in the pipeline. Kathodu Kadaram, Panjakni, and Nakashadam was also ready by then, because MT sir was totally dedicated to this ambitious project that time. This, in fact, he who put the name, named also 7 arts, which means cinema is a mixture of 7 talents and 7 arts. So we took off from there, and that's how it took off.
Wow, that's really interesting, and thank you for letting us know about how the name was formed as well. 7 arts. That's very interesting. And so it was clearly a start which was blessed by legends like Sri MT, Sri Hariharan, Sri Bharathan. So it was a great beginning as well. Now, when we as audience look back to that era, of course we have these most nostalgic thoughts and those wonderful movies. But many a time people recall either the directors or the actors or actresses or the script writers. But then, as a producer, the producers are the unsung heroes, if I may say so. Who are actually let's say steadfast in their passion to produce such good movies. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had such movies. So. Really, 2 parts to the question. Therefore, one is that what is the level of work that goes into making such movies? What has been your experience in doing that? That's one. And the other is, is that, when you look back at your work over the last, 5 decades, what are those factors that you have been very careful about when you choose to produce or finance a movie?
Well, logically and professionally, if you think, a producer must have a very good knowledge about selection of a plot or a subject. He must definitely be able to, if not, he may not be a writer by himself, or he may not be a screenplay maker, but he should definitely know how a screenplay should come up or evolve, and how the treatment is going to be, and what sort of a casting will be ideal for a project like that. No doubt the director will be there along with the producer, but the producer must have his own conviction and what kind of a budget this film demands, and what kind of a safety is there for the marketing, because everything is, as a business, like my point of view is from the business angle only. So why are you making this movie? What purpose? This is as a business to get profit out of it, or in some cases in cinema, you lose money, but at least you get name if the film is really good. But in my case, there is an exception. When, as I mentioned earlier, when I started with MT Sir and Hariharan Ji, I had no knowledge on this in this field, but they were so committed, so devoted. Believe me, I had total 100% trust on them, because their commitment was more than mine to make this project viable and success. So this was one reason why I had a very cakewalk in my first few projects, even up to Talavatam, were pre-ended. So I learned in the process what should be done as a producer. And secondly, a producer has to have a disciplined production to make the film within the budget and within the marketing scope of it. So all these factors were fortunately given as a blessing to me in my first few projects. But things did go wrong because of that also. That's a subsequent story. But there, it worked very well. But if you ask me today, as a producer, what he must know is why are you producing this movie is a question one should ask to himself first. You may be passionate, that is one thing there. But reason about passion is a must in case of production, because all said and done, it's a business. And today it involves big finance, big money. And the purpose of film today, it comes under, as you know, an entertainment industry. So I primarily say that it should serve the first purpose of entertaining the viewers. The viewers must enjoy it, appreciate it, they should like it. And in the process, we make our money as well. That is actually the entertainment industry as a business. So a producer has to definitely ensure that he is convinced before he jumps into this project. This is my today's, or rather my decision a little later after I made some mistakes. Yes.
No, absolutely. That's really interesting to hear as well. And I think, from a production house that has produced 45 movies, 42 in Malayalam and 3 in other languages. So that says a lot. Maybe this is a good time to, maybe have a little bit of an interactive engagement with Jimmy as well, because, as you're aware, the OTT platforms have really grown in stature over the last many years, and especially during the pandemic and the accentuation of that. So today, movies are not just Malayalam movies are not just local or regional, but national and international as well. So maybe Sriram, if we can just play the montage of a little bit of views on Malayalam cinema and through the OTT platform, and then we could come to the questions.
Malayalam cinema is flourishing. Hindi cinema is languishing.
I want to thank you, by the way. You have introduced me to Malayalam cinema. Oh my God. Oh my God. So anybody who's watching, because I'm sure my fans in Pakistan will be watching this interview, gotta check out Malayalam cinema.
मैं बोल रहा था यार मुझे मलयालम सिखा दे, मुझे ना
बहुत मन है जाके मलयालम सिनेमा में काम करने का.
రీసెంట్గా మళ్ళీ ఓటీటీలో ఎక్కువగా మంచి కాంటెంట్ వస్తుంది మాలీవుడ్ నుంచే.
মালায়ালাম মাস্টারপিস থ্রিলার দৃশ্যমের কথা নিশ্চয়ই মনে আছে সবার, সেটারই দ্বিতীয় কিস্তি।
Immediately a fan after we saw that film, and we are ecstatic that it is India's official submission for the Oscars this year, because we want everyone to be able to one, see that film, and also just realize the talent that's coming out of India.
मैं आपको एक मलयालम फिल्म के बारे में बात करूं. I've never seen performances like that. आप हिंदी फिल्म कोई भी देखिए, अगर एक आमिर खान की फिल्म दूसरी फिल्म आप साथ साथ देखिए, आपको मालूम है ये तो आमिर खान है. तीसरी फिल्म देखिए. I used to watch मलयालम films and halfway through कि यार एक मैंने अभी फिल्म देखी है जिसमें जो the main character is a wife beater and a rapist. I hate him. उसको मार दो किसी तरह, ऐसे लग रहा था. अब मैं दूसरी फिल्म देख रहा हूँ, यार ये वो एक्टर है नहीं, इसमें तो he is the victim. ये तो पुलिस उसको मार रही है, ये तो भाग रहा है, ये तो डरा हुआ आदमी है.
So many interesting views there, from people outside of Kerala and Malayalam, even international as well. So maybe I'll start with a question to you, Vijayakumar Chetan. How do you view this? Are you seeing this with a lot of happiness and joy in terms of the expansion, and also maybe a little bit on in terms of what are the factors that need to be watched as well? So both from a positive perspective and from a challenges perspective, something that would be really interesting.
You mean regarding Malayalam films?
Yeah, the OTT, the Malayalam films expanding onto the OTT platforms and having a wide, viewership.
Correct. In fact, in the recent times, among the OTT films which is direct release to OTT platform came, Hindi came, Telugu came, other regional language film, Tamil also came, Malayalam also came. I feel among the films I have seen in the OTT platform, the Malayalam are definitely far superior to the other language films in quality, and from the viewership, the interesting point of view, the entertainment point of view of the films, they are really good. And I have also one more reason to say the Malayalam films are definitely, as of now, a step way ahead of other regional films and even Hindi films, because when I was a jury in this film process last year, National Awards, initially I was heading as chairman for the Far East, which consists of Bengal, Assam, Nagaland, Orissa, and all those places. And there are 4 zones. Other zonal films were also selected. I found Bengali films really good in quality, some Assami films and all fine. But when it came to the final round of all 4 regional language film selections came, can you believe it? The Telugu industry or even the Kannada industry could not get the required number of films which could be taken forward to the final round. See, the final round from each region, there were about 60 to 80 films, in each region. So they could take 20 films. And believe me, in Telugu, even Hindi, there were not 20 films which could be considered for the final round to come. Malayalam had 23. In fact, Malayalam had more films eligible, but you couldn't exceed the quota. So what I'm saying is, in terms of the quality of the film, of course, in the preliminary rounds, it was concerned that overall totality of the film, not only piecemeals here and there, but in a totality, the film should be a plus and pleasing one. So it could qualify into any category of awards. So Malayalam definitely stands much above other language, and even when it comes to such merit, well, above even Hindi films, I would say this is it. But in terms of business revenue, we have a disadvantage because Malayalam is actually the least revenue generating among the South regional films. Telugu is, of course, number 1. Now Tamil is doing next in line, and Malayalam used to be the 3rd and Kannada used to be the 4th. But today, in the last about 5-6 years, Kannada has become almost double of Malayalam, and Malayalam still remains the weakest in terms of revenue generation. That is causing a little agony or a problem to Malayalam film productions.
A related question only, if I may ask.
Yes.
The commercial side of revenue generation through OTT. Do you see there are possibilities for that, or is there an opportunity there because of the reach?
Yeah. See, today there are two things happening in OTT. The primary Malayalam film or even any Indian film, the business used to be before COVID, I'm telling, that we produce a movie, we have a budget, we know there is a satellite rights of, depending on the package, the value of the artist, director, production house, whatever it is. And then, of course, an OTT right, which emerged recently. There wasn't an OTT much earlier, but OTT came, and that also is an attraction. Then overseas rights. And the primary success of a film depended on the theatrical collections of the respective state. That means if you really, genuinely, if you make a movie, the theatrical collection will only make the film a success. And if it fails there, financially, it's a failure. Now, after this pandemic and all these things, the OTT platforms directly acquiring films is one hope now, because we don't depend on the theater revenue. We sell the OTT platform the entire rights of the movie, and the producer may make some money at one go, or he may share the profit or whatever it is. But today, among the 130 plus Malayalam films made in the last year, about 80 of them censored and ready for release, but not able to release. OTT had picked up only about 5 or 7 films. So the rest of the films are, because OTT has a problem when they pick up paying the full money of the project, the theatrical revenue is not there. OTT platform or OTT alternately has to come to a reach home scenario, which is happening now. Now, the sooner or later, the OTT platforms will take film directly to home in India as well as overseas, in which case this will become justifiable. So that process is what we are all, because today I can't imagine of making a movie hoping that my theater revenue is likely to be this much. But if the scenario changes, OTT platforms are willing to take it directly to home, they will fix a price and we are happy. So we have to wait and see the emerging scenario now.
So maybe probably what you're saying is something like a day one release with a pay option.
Yes, right.
Is that the way forward for Malayalam movies as well?
All regional, all Indian movies, it will happen, because day one first show you can see by paying, and that payment module also is already worked out, they can do it. If the subscription basis persists as of now, that is today Netflix, Amazon or Hotstar, even Z, everybody is on a monthly subscription basis. In that monthly subscription basis, this scheme may not work. So it has to be pay per view, or pay first week this much, pay second week this much. So this scheme, I happened to see a project on this last 2 years back. Somebody was worked out, some team has worked out the revenue of a producer of a reasonably good movie, not necessarily a superstar movie. It can be a reasonably budgeted movie, worldwide release day one, opening to home, the collection will be, the revenue will be much more than today's theatrical hit. That is for sure. We have to wait and see.
So maybe that explains why we have got movies like Drishyam and few which are getting released on day one.
Day one, right. But today the OTT platforms are leaders. They only have the infrastructure to take the film day one to the world. They need that technical, things, everything. But they are on a subscription basis. That is why they are not picking up more and more films, because they have to enhance their subscription at this point. So they are taking some films at a fancy price and trying to enhance the numbers of their subscription. But eventually, if film as an industry, back-to-back films coming, if it has to generate the revenue, it has to be pay-per-view, which will be definitely a successful model for the revenue generation of the movies.
Jimmy, would you like to come in and share your view on OTT, the reach it is giving, and as an outside-in person looking at the industry based on OTT, what's your take?
I mean, I'm of course from the perspective of the viewer, so I have really no idea about the business side of things. But from my perspective, it has of course been a very positive thing, because the attention and the availability is much more increased for an international audience, and that's for me at least a very positive thing. And but still it's kind of tricky as well, because I'm not sure about how many markets there really are, because I myself using a VPN, for example, to say that now I'm in the United States and then I can watch a new release on Amazon Prime in the United States, for example. Because when a movie gets released on Amazon Prime, it doesn't mean that it gets released on Amazon Prime in every market. And here in Austria or in Germany, oftentimes the movies are not out, because I think for that maybe they need German subtitles or even a dubbing, I'm not sure. So I myself am in the position that I use a VPN and then pretend to be in the United States or pretend to be in England, and then I can access these movies. But I also have made some very positive experiences with little OTT sites like Stream, for example. I think the Great Indian Kitchen, I think, was on Stream, and the pricing was always very very fair, especially in comparison to American movies. It was only like $2 for a movie, $4 for a movie. I think they can definitely increase that, but I'm not sure. So then I bought some movies and had like a week to watch it, and that was a very good model for myself, especially now in the pandemic.
Excellent.
I think answering Mr. Jimmy, see, today the market of regional films are becoming a national and international. Why? In India itself today, we see Korean movies, Korean web series, we see Istanbul, the Turkish ones, even the French something. So different language, different with subtitles. People are more, in web series, most of them are coming from Spain, Spanish language. So people are able to understand, enjoy, appreciate, and that market has become huge now. The web series market in India, which is not all English, it's all from different layers, but with subtitles. So the cross-country viewership of films or web series is going to be tomorrow's business model. Because if the content is good, of course, if the content is good with subtitle, and if the making of the film is to the standard, with subtitles, people across the country, irrespective of language, religion, are seeing, enjoying, and they are happy to pay for it. So only thing is the reach. When Mr. Jimmy said about that Malayalam film, that name, some, that platform, they unfortunately could not take it to the whole world. Why? Not even whole India. They couldn't reach it because of the bandwidth or some technical. So you need an infrastructural, solid system and a monetization system. These two things should merge, which of course a major player can do. Then I believe tomorrow OTT platform will be the biggest player.
Yeah, Ajay, if I can just step in and ask a question to both of them, to start with Vijayakumar Chetan. Chetan, right. We discussed about OTT, and we are now going through a sort of a pandemic situation, and OTT as a platform give us an opportunity to watch some fantastic good movies. So if we can just look at a couple of movies, for example, what came to my mind is sort of Helen and Arcaria. So Helen was sort of released slightly earlier. Arcaria was a recent release. So producing these movies during this pandemic itself is a challenge actually. So from your perspective as a producer as well as a jury, if you look into two movies, what's your take on these movies?
Both are really good movies. In fact, Helen was a theatrical success also. That film was released much before the pandemic, and it was a theatrical success. And in terms of the quality, the content, and the making of the film, that's a really great movie. Even in the award, the selection process among the Malayalam films, this film was unanimously liked and appreciated by all regional people. Of course, when it comes to the distribution of award, there are certain parities and certain considerations, involved. For example, the best Malayalam film award has gone to Uru small film, Kallanottam, Malayalam film. I don't think it has come to the theater, but I have seen that beautiful, brilliant movie made in a very, very tight budget, but with quality and a reasonable or simple subject, but presented beautifully with the narration and flow. So many people felt that this sort of a creative guy has to be encouraged. He has to be supported, without no major cost, nothing involved. So that is why I'm saying, though, these films are really good. But Arkariyam, from what I understand, it got released in the pandemic season, and people are hoping that before the second wave everything will be okay, so they somehow released, because they were all stuck in with their money and the film lying in the box, so they went into the release and it did not work in the theater. But in the OTT platform, I liked, and I believe most of the people who saw the movie, they really appreciated that movie. Good movie, I would say. And such movies are made in reasonable budget. And those movies, once I mentioned earlier, if they get a revenue recovery model on day one release basis, they will become success, super success, and the industry will survive.
Yeah, I think this may be a good time to maybe bring in Jimmy as well, because you've done reviews on these two movies, and these are pretty new. So as an outsider, I know we talked about your review of almost 70 movies. Again, was there a few things that actually stood out in Helen and Arkariyam that when you were reviewing compared to some of the other movies in Malayalam?
Especially Helen, I really loved that movie. I think it was showing such a great performance by both Lal and Anna Ben, and I really enjoyed the movie. But the thing that stood out for Arkariyam for me, and I've seen that in some other Malayalam movies as well, and more so in Malayalam cinema than in other industries, is that they actually incorporated the pandemic in some shape or form into the narrative. In Arkariyam, it happened during the pandemic and it was part of the story. And when I watched that movie, that really surprised me how Malayalam cinema is able to react to the pandemic in such a quick fashion and incorporate it in a meaningful way into its story. I think it was also in Cold Case, it was a little bit in that movie as well. And I think in Joji, the pandemic was also part of the narrative, and that was an aspect that really surprised me. And I think there are definitely some other movies from other industries that have done a similar thing, but I think in those movies in Malayalam cinema, that was really special.
Okay, thank you. And Vijayakumar Chetan, I think you mentioned you were in the jury, and at that point, was Helen part of that submission? And what did you think about Anna Ben's acting? I think everybody.
Super, so excellent. Everybody, in fact, if there was, there was a tie in the sense whether she or the Kangana Ranaut, best. Of course, Kangana had two films. One more film, she had two films. I don't remember the names, but both were excellent performance by Kangana, no doubt about it. But in Helen, she was also at par, I would say. And everybody liked that movie, the making of the movie. In fact, our movie, there is one thing which we should learn. That movie is based on a real incident happened either in Kerala or somewhere in India, where a security man in a cold storage only found that a guy got locked in the cold storage, because how he realized is, of course, everybody is searching for him. This guy who got locked inside was the one who used to wish him every day, how are you, Chata? All well, fine, okay. So that relationship made him think, what happened to this man? Today I didn't get a wish from him. That is what led to the clue of getting it. Anyway, when they made a movie, what I liked about is the talent of the creators is, see, they made a father, they made her an aspiring nurse wanting to go to Canada to make some money because of financial needs, and she's struggling for it, and she have a silent lover, and the whole tension area of this cold storage, everything is backed by the emotional connect of the other characters. So that family bonding, father-daughter relationships, and the lover, that problem, the father not permitting that. So all put together, it made a beautiful blend. And that's why the film is holding. Otherwise, the subject, cold storage, is a dry subject. So I feel the makers have really made a good package and made it an excellent product. That's why I love that movie, and everybody seems to be appreciating it.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you.
Right. So, it is really, interesting to hear the views in terms of the new age cinemas, Helen, Arkaria, but I think this is the time for us to maybe just go back in time again and look at one of our iconic movies which you have produced, Chetan. So, Sriram, can we just play it and then we can speak?
ഒരു ജയിലർക്കും നിന്നെ കൈവിട്ടു കൊടുക്കാൻ വയ്യ
ഇനി എനിക്ക് ബാക്കി
പറയരുത്
ഈ നദി തന്മാറിലാരുടെ കൈവിരൽ പാടുകൾ ഉണരുന്നു.
Panjagni, it was such an iconic movie, and telling the story from a woman's perspective and throwing light on patriarchy at those times. It would have been clearly a risky subject at that time. So, we are really keen to understand what your motivation would have been to produce such a movie.
Well, there is a story actually, and behind that there is a small story. This subject was worked by MD Sir and with Mr. Hariharan. And for your information, it was a male-oriented film. It was supposed to be a male character. And of course, the final script was not done, but the plot was discussed, agreed upon. And as I said earlier, with MD, there is nothing like we need to interact much or anything, because the producer and director, they have discussed, everything was fine. And Mammootty was supposed to do that role also. For some reason, on that time, Mammootty had some date clash and something happening, delaying and all those things. And this, our Nakashtadangal subject also was in place actually. So which one to do? We thought we would do Panjagni first because that is little more, originally it was supposed to be Mammootty. When Mammootty is not available immediately and things are getting delayed on the Paranja poll, that time MT Sir and Hariharan discussed and told me, we will find a way. We have a option. Let us not depend on A or B or C, and let's see. Let's move forward. After 2 days, Mr. Sir and Harriet sir decided that this is going to be a female-centric film, and a new female. Initially, actually, there was a proposal, Suhasini and all. Then said, no, let us find a new artist to do this and take the chance. I was actually, as I earlier mentioned, I was not too experienced into it or anything, but I had some friends and in the industry by the time. Priyan also happened to be a friend, and some people who are in business. They said, no, you must have some stars, and otherwise, the film, there is no such guarantee, which is a fact. Even today, the new artist films and all, risk is very high. So why don't we do and all those things? Then I said, this is where my producer role came first. I asked Riyan sir and sir, why don't we try and put Mohanlal? And we can access him because Riyan is a very good friend, so I can talk to him. And then MD sir said, now this subject has come out a female-centric, excellent. There is an excellent role for Mohanlal, but it is a women-centric subject. So you meet him, and if he's okay with it, we are too happy to do it. But changing the script and all, now it's fine. So myself and Priyan, we went and met Mohanlal. Mohanlal, of course, is a big star then, busy star and all. But he was too good to us, so friendly with us and everything. He asked me only one thing. MT sir and Hariharan is doing this film, and they feel if I do this, it is good for the film and for me also. So don't worry. You don't worry about my role, whether there is a female-centric or something like. We diplomatically, put that this is a female subject. He said, don't worry. If the film is good, I am there. So we'll take it later. And that's how it happened to be Mohanlal coming into this role actually in that film. And no doubt, those days, people were too, especially in the industry, people were too worried, if there is no action, there is no fight and these things, whether the film will make any sensation or, success or anything. But we had to take the challenge, and we did it and paid off. That's it.
Absolutely, it was a gift for the audience in terms of the quality of the the performances, etc. I think Ajay, you wanted to
Sure, Jimmy. I was just going to ask Jimmy because I think Jimmy recently watched Panjagni, so he has not published a review of it yet. So this could be hot off the press for us, what Jimmy thought about the movie.
Yeah, I just watched it a few days ago because I asked you what movies of Vijayakumar should I check out for the session today, and you mentioned Panjagni, and that was the one that I watched. And from the get-go, I was really impressed and amazed how kind of ahead of its time it came across. We start in this women's prison, and I knew absolutely nothing about the movie before I watched it, and I was so surprised to see this female-centric story and the topics that it was addressing. And in a way, it kind of reminded me of recent movies like Great Indian Kitchen or Biryani, about these strong female characters that are kind of facing off a society, a patriarchal society, and have to deal with stuff like that. And I really enjoyed it a lot. I thought the performances were incredible, especially by Geeta in the lead role, but also Mohanlal, even if it was just a supporting role. But his acting was so naturalistic, and I really enjoyed it. And also an aspect that I enjoyed in this movie, and that's something that's always fascinating to me. The whole story of Panjagni takes place in these 2 weeks that she's on parole, but that's just the story that's happening now in the present. But there's so much backstory to the characters and to the different relationships that this woman has with her sister, with her younger brother, with friend from the past. And it's a movie where I feel that there's so much backstory that's slowly unfolding as the movie progresses, and therefore I think it's also kind of a kind of a mystery, because we get all this information about the things that happen, the reason for this woman to be in prison. It's all happening step by step, and I think that way it really held my attention. And the only problem that I had with it, but that's coming from that's kind of a cultural barrier. But for me, it's sometimes difficult if an Indian movie has so many different characters and so many family ties. And for me, it's sometimes a bit difficult to understand who's sister, how are they related, who's the father-in-law, and all the customs that come with that. That's for me sometimes a little bit challenging.
No, absolutely, Jeremy, and that's a very fair point as well, coming in from an outside-in perspective. And which Vijayakumar, if we may connect that question to you, in the sense that what was the relatability from a culture perspective, but Jimmy had alluded to the fact that if good prints were available for Malayalam movies, then that would enhance the quality of viewership, both from an international perspective and from an OTT point of view. So, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, the reality is we have to accept that the old films, unfortunately, I would say 95% of the producers did not bother to keep the negatives, or got it transferred into some storage system which will last. We didn't do it because the print business disappeared about 15 years back. The digital format came in. Once the digital format came for releasing the movies, there was no need of the negatives anymore. And earlier, the lab used to keep it because lab had an air-conditioned facility to keep all the negatives, because they had repeat business coming, after the release. Subsequently, some prints will be taken. Thereafter, some prints will be exported. Thereafter, some reissue rights may come for the film. So the negatives was very necessary to be kept in ideal condition, and lab had the reason to do it, and they were benefited. But after the digital format, there is no need of any prints, so there is no more negatives needed. But the transferring of this negative of that quality to today's quality, which is 4K resolution now, nobody bothered to do it, because we never had any such idea that OTT level things are coming. Even for the satellite rights, when we sold, fortunately, Asianet and some companies, they got it transferred in the best available technology that time, and we haven't bothered to take any copy of it. So now it's a difficult situation. But thanks to this OTT platforms now, OTT platforms are insisting on a particular quality of filmmaking only, and they will only take those films. So henceforth, or maybe the films which were made in the last 3 years or so, we would be able to convert them to the standard, and probably the preservation of it could be much safer and longer. And the subtitling process, what he mentioned, is very important, because in most cases, the subtitling does not convey the real depth meaning. Just some translation from English to Malayalam or some Tamil to English or whatever it is, that will not really carry the real depth of the sequence or the underlying meaning or whatever it is. So that may be what he is finding difficulty. I have one thing to clarify with Mr. Jimmy. That is, the films which he's reviewing and seeing, he has been with Hollywood or other foreign country films, and comparison to Indian films, what is the percentage of films you feel can be considered as merit-wise good enough, or you feel those, yes, good films? Because you yourself said that some films you cannot, even we have experienced it. I would say we have more bad films than good films in the making, because everybody is making just like the left, right, center films. But what is the percentage of the films among the foreign countries which you see, and among the Indian films, and more specifically the Malayalam films, you feel worthwhile to be considered as good films?
I think it's a great question. I think it's important that we realize that we, of course, have a very very narrow view, because with international films, they are often going through several different filters already, and we only kind of receive the movies that are regarded as good movies or good enough movies or great movies. And I think every industry on the world is producing more bad films than good films, because making a good film is such a difficult task. There are so many different factors involved to make a good film, and for a good film to happen, it's actually kind of a little miracle. So I think you can cherish every movie that's decent. And you told earlier that there were over 100 Malayalam films released last year. So I think from those over 100 movies, we've probably seen like maybe 10 or so. So it's difficult to say. But my personal experience has been that the percentage of good films from the Malayalam movie industry is pretty high, I have to say. But I have only a very limited exposure.
Right.
For example, when I think about German movies, for example, it's definitely lower. The German movie industry is producing a lot of very shallow mainstream comedies, and a lot of them are not really that good.
Mm-hmm. But, fortunately or unfortunately, India, before the COVID, we used to produce nearly 1,000 films a year put together in all languages. And this market cannot take it. Believe me.
Yeah.
Today, one of the biggest financial disaster in the film industry is excess supply of films.
Yeah.
And no doubt, when I say excess supply, and as we really know, high percentage of bad films, which nobody would like to see. People are just doing it for what reason, we don't know. So this is, as an industry, it's a big problem. I was wondering whether overseas films have this problem or not. That's why I asked.
Yeah, I think it's a problem that exists in other industries as well. I think American industry, they are also producing so many movies, and now with movies produced for Netflix, produced for Amazon Prime, I think there's just so much content out there, and it's overwhelming. And yeah, it's difficult to get a good view on what's worth your time, what's worth to check out, and what's not. And that's why we always try to read up on a movie before we check it out.
Yeah.
I was wondering, Vijayakumar Chetan, one question came to my mind is like, in the production, the techniques or the units, how it used to operate, in those days, in the 80s and 90s, and also now, like, I've seen that now it is completely different, actually, isn't it? The way it is being operated, the techniques used and etc. So do you have a perspective on that?
Well, technology change is happening so fast and rapid. In fact, after the digitalization came into the making of films, that is, the films are replaced with the digital format, it became, on the one side, very easy and economical to make film. That is what we all thought, and we really were under the impression. But in this film industry, there's a problem. They bring in new equipments, new kind of cameras and lenses and these things. And today, every 3 months, a new model is added to it. A new innovation is added to it. So the production cost factor, which we thought after the digital thing will be much easy. For example, earlier, the film used to be a very costly factor in the making of a negative. Yeah. And also making the print, the positives. But today, after digitalization, you can shoot 10 times, 25 times a scene, because it is only delete and shoot again, delete and shoot, nothing you are losing. But we are seeing the new technology, the equipment, see, instead of old crane, new things are coming in. Now the moonlights are coming in, balloon lights are coming in, and they're all costing huge money. So, in net result, this advanced technology filmmaking is becoming costlier only. And no doubt, the quality of films, no doubt, with 4K resolution and all, the viewing a movie technically is excellent. It can absorb your, intense viewership and everything. But in relation to the cost factor, especially Malayalam, that is where we are all hurt, because if it is a national Hindi film and all, we have the budget provision for it. We can afford to do it. Malayalam, whether it is film or the web series or serial, the budgets are so limited, we can't afford the technology or the equipments which are the latest introduced. And our technicians will insist on it, and producers are bound to give it. This is a vicious circle now happening.
Yeah. Sure.
Great. So, Suchata, just conscious, Ajay, conscious of time that Jimmy has been with us for almost 2 hours, and anything that Suchan or yourself would like to.
I want to ask one question to Jimmy. Jimmy, do you have any plan to make a movie or at least to act?
I think I would be the worst actor ever. We are always doing these little intro skits to our reviews, Dennis and I. And I'm always surprised that Dennis is actually quite a good actor, but I would be terrible at acting. And also, it's of course a good question, because when you're interested in cinema, it's always a good question if you are interested in making movies yourself. But over the years, I have realized that wouldn't be something for me. I love to delve into movie history and watch movies, talk about movies, but making a movie myself, it honestly sounds like a huge headache. There are so many things involved, and no plans in that regard.
Thanks, Jimmy.
Thank you.
Jimmy, do you have any question for Vijayakumar Chetan or any of us at all? Through this interaction, anything which comes to your mind you want to ask or share?
I think the question that I would have asked is already kind of answered. I was very interested in if there are any plans of restoring older movies, because we would love to explore more of this golden era of Malayalam cinema, but it's so difficult because it's really hard to find those prints. So my question would be if there are any plans of restoring older movies, and if there are any. He said that there are no negatives left most of the time, and it's really a shame. I've heard that there's a Mohan Lal movie that gets a restoration this year or maybe next, I'm not sure. But is there any hope for older movies to somehow see the light in HD resolution?
Well, you may not be disappointed. There is a ray of hope. That is, number one is, we are trying to get from the national archives the films which won some awards in the past, every year. Those films, one print was taken by the National Archives in Pune, and they are supposed to be they have it, and that is in good quality. They preserve it. So, but those numbers are much less. What I personally, when I was a president of the Kerala Film Chamber, I tried to do with the Kerala government, there is a film academy in Kerala, only they have to do it. There's a government body. These channels, leading channels in Malayalam, whether it is Asianet or Surya and others put together, they fortunately transferred some good quality. They are holding it. Now, they will not part with it because it is their property, it is their monopoly, so they don't want to part with it. But if the Kerala government starts storing arrangements which they are proposing to do, and they make an approach to these channels, for that purpose, you need to have this transferred. This may work. We may probably have to bear the cost of transferring them. That is not a big deal, but the restoration can happen, and this can only happen through this source as far as I know, the government, which again, there is a body, Film Academy, along with the producers and all put together. We will try and make an effort. And if it happens, believe me, you will get a huge number of quality films and in good quality for your purpose, which is possible. Let's hope for it.
Thank you so much. That would be so awesome. I just watched the documentary Celluloid Man a few weeks ago about PK Nair, about the film archivist. And so I think there must some prints still existing, and yeah, that's great that there's some hope.
All award-winning films are there. In fact, it is Mr. Nair who initiated and he maintained it very well. All award-winning films in all languages, they still have, even Malayalam. But there are few numbers. So if by any chance you want to get it, but only thing who will transfer it, and those things have to be sorted out. But it's possible. It's possible.
We've got a question from the audience. I think Jimmy, we'll let you go if you. I know it's been a long afternoon for you, so we'll just quickly ask Gopal Netapelli to ask a question.
I'll ask the question to Jimmy first if he's to go.
Go ahead.
Yes.
Jimmy, first of all, you may not know there is a link between Austria and Malayalam films, because most of the Malayalam films have got a Freudian link. Many stories used to be around that, and we used to even say that film will not be film without there is a Freudian symbolism in it. But my question is, if you compare Malayalam film head to head with, say, Austrian or European film, where do we stand?
I think you stand very good. I think when it comes to different film nations, I think there are always eras. There are eras where a nation is producing a lot of really great, fascinating films, and then there are eras where movies are really kind of subpar. And I think from what we have seen from the great Malayalam movies from the 80s, and now with this new wave, I think they are standing very, very good. I think in Austria, for example, or in other European countries, there are also phenomenal movies produced, but you can really also count them on two hands. So maybe if Austria is producing like 3 great films a year, you can be very happy. I mean, of course, it's also very, very little country and a very small movie industry. But if a movie like Austria can produce 3 great movies a year, that's great. And I think if you just take the Malayalam industry in India, it's also not the biggest industry if you compare it to Bollywood, for example. And the sheer number of great movies is telling me that there's really no reason to hide them or to be afraid about an international comparison. I think there are really great movies out there now.
Thank you. Jimmy, for your information, British Film Institute may have some good quality prints of Malayalam movies.
Where was that? Excuse me?
British Film Institute.
British Film Institute. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you contact them, you may know.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Now, Vijayakumar sir.
Yeah.
First of all, before any questions, I have to say thank you very much for this fantastic raft of films, which gave so much pleasure and sometimes, so much angst also, because many of your movies are not easy viewing. You cannot view them easily. They are so emotionally challenging. So thank you very much for that. And I'm quite happy that I was able to say this thank you to you in person. My question is that when we consider the whole aspect of I'm talking as a film appreciator or a viewer, we never think about the role of the producer. He is considered as a banker, and then because we consider the producer as a banker for the movie, we think that there is not much input into the creative process. But viewing the list of awards your films have won, you are a person who has been careful in choosing the movies you make, which has got artistic values. So is this say by design, or it's happened because your association and you are with very good filmmakers?
Yeah. See, I did mention earlier, it's actually the result of a good teamwork, the team. When I say team, as a producer in 94 5% cases, I have not done any creative job. That is, I have not conceived a subject, I have not written a script, nor made any screenplay, nor any direction, nor camera, nothing. But getting the right thing from the right people in the right place is, I consider it as a luck, God's gift, because sometimes you land with the wrong films also, in the wrong project also. So here, getting them and getting the right project or the product out of them is in a way luck. And as a producer, what I could do is coordinating and getting it done to the expectations of them, to the expectations of the viewers, and to, no doubt, our satisfaction, and within a budget. So getting them organized, including the music, including the locations, including the casting. So all these things, we do play a vital role, but we are not the creators. So we are dependent on the talented, creative people when it comes to filmmaking. That's for sure.
But then you decide whom to back, isn't it?
That, of course, we can.
Yeah,
we can.
I mean, that is a great thing that you back.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for that question, Gopalata. So, Ajay, I pass it on to you. Jimmy is, welcome to stay. So,
Yeah, thanks, Sunny. As we have discussed, we've tried and kept the conversation in English as long as till here, and I know there are more questions which will be coming, and obviously we'll be interacting more with Vijayakumar Chetan as well. So it may happen that over time Malayalam may creep in more and more. So Jimmy, stay or leave as we progress. As I said, it's a family setting here, and you are actually in our party, right? So feel as whenever you want to leave a party, you can leave a party, right? That sort of a thing.
Yeah.
So, but what we will make this is as a logical point. So I would request anybody else out there in the audience, who have a question for Jimmy, if you can just quickly let us know by typing it in the chats or raising your hand, then we can actually come to you for that question. And same on YouTube, if anybody has a question, if you can please put it on there, we will actually ask that on your behalf as well, or comment as well. If it's not a question, a comment or anything you want to say. So we'll just give that a moment. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything on YouTube yet, but there's some good feedback. A lot of fans of Jimmy are online, I think. So they are appreciating the Malayalam film.
There are a lot of positive feedbacks on YouTube, but no questions as of now.
Yeah. So Malini has a question. Who is his favorite actor and actress? I don't know if that is for Vijayakumar Chetan or Jimmy. Maybe before we
Jimmy.
We could ask Jimmy. Who's your favorite actor and actress in Malayalam?
It's always a difficult question for me because, like I said, I'm more interested in the great movies. But actors that I really liked, Subin Shahir is someone I really appreciated. Fahad Fazil, Mammootty.
Nice.
I think Anna Ben just recently. With Anna Ben, it's great because with Anna Ben, I've seen all of her films, and it's kind of a unique situation for me because normally these actors have already such a tremendous filmography, and I can keep up. But with Anna Ben being such a fresh new face, I'm very interested to follow her career, and I think she's one of my favorites too.
Brilliant, thank you.
So, Sriram, we have got, if that's the case, then we'll move on. And obviously, Vijayakumar Chetan has, agreed to spend, some more time with us, which is very kind of you.
No problem.
ഏതൊരു മലയാളം പരിപാടിയും മലയാളം പറയാതെ നമ്മളത് മുന്നോട്ട് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ
ഒരു ജിമ്മി ഉള്ളപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ മര്യാദയാണല്ലോ ജിമ്മി ഇരിക്കുമ്പോൾ മലയാളത്തിൽ മാത്രം പോകുന്നത് ശരിയല്ലല്ലോ.
So we will for so that Jimmy also understands and appreciates the discussion. So we'll continue to go in English, but we need to take your apologies in advance. There may be places where we need to use certain words, and of course, it is best communicated that way in Malayalam. So. Vijayakumar, we have a set of very interesting questions which have come from audience as well. One of the questions by one of our members, Santosh Pillai, is that he says that it is thought of that cinema is a director's craft. So you alluded to that point a little while ago as well, partly. But what you know is that when you work with stalwarts like MT sir, Hariharan sir, Bharathan, who are very passionate about their craft, and then to balance the creativity of it. How do you get that creativity to really reflect on scene, from your side? And number one, and number two, how do you balance it with the commercial priorities that you may have? So has that been a challenge for you?
Well, it has been a challenge at times. Reason, primarily, we believe, or rather I believe, that films are for entertainment and films are for business. Now, Malayalam, is it okay, or should we carry on in English?
Yeah.
No, up to your choice. Which one you prefer?
You can mix it both. Where I feel I need to probably translate for Jimmy, I'll probably message him on the side.
Okay. നമ്മളുടെ ഫിലിം മേക്കിങ്ങിൽ ഈ ക്രിയേറ്റീവ് റെസ്പോൺസിബിലിറ്റി ഡയറക്ടർക്കുണ്ട്. ഡയറക്ടറുടെ ചോയ്സ് വിൽ ഓൾവേസ്, I would say in my experience, prevail over others' views or suggestions, because someone has to take a final call. Our final call, the director can order.
Mute I think you are muted. On unmute you.
Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Now it's clear?
Yeah.
Now, the purpose of making this film is for business and for commercial reasons, and primarily it should entertain the viewers. This is understood in possibly all films which we make. But there has been some exceptions, like when Parinayam we were doing, we were all not too sure that this will be a commercial hit or anything, but at least we thought it could be commercially safe. Because those days, except some satellite support, everything has to come from the theater. So some risk area, like Rajasilpi we did, we knew there is a great risk in that film, financial, from the angle. But Mohanlal was excited with that character, and that Sukumaran director was wanting to make this film, and we had to oblige him for some reasons. So to balance that commercial aspect, we thought of that actress and music by Rumbe Ravi and all. We tried to make as possible as a saleable commodity, but still it didn't work in the theaters. So otherwise, by and large, number filmmaking, it is made very clear to the director, the writer, and everybody, this is primarily a theatrical business venture. So based on that, we are willing to back up the project with money and with the artists, with the facilities, everything, but you have to deliver the content for that. And like Lelam, Patram, everywhere would work. But in some cases, yes, it fails, some cases. Well, that is, I think, in film industry, inherently a problem. There cannot be guaranteed success by anyone, any creative guy or anybody for that matter. It sometimes goes wrong because there is some sort of a speculation is there in always in this business.
അല്ല, ഇപ്പം വിജയകുമാർ ചേട്ടനാണെങ്കിൽ ടു എ ലാർജ് എക്സ്റ്റെന്റ് ഈ കമേഴ്ഷ്യൽ മൂവീസിലും അതുപോലെ തന്നെ അതിന്റെ ക്രിയേറ്റീവ് അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിക് കണ്ടന്റും ബാലൻസ് ചെയ്ത് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ പറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. അതാണല്ലോ ഇപ്പൊ പരിണയത്തിന്റെ എക്സാമ്പിൾ പറഞ്ഞത്. സോ നമുക്ക് പരിണയത്തിന്റെ ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു ക്ലിപ്പ് കണ്ടു നോക്കാം.
സാമജ സഞ്ചാരിണി സരസീരുഹ മധുവാദിനി സാമജ സഞ്ചാരിണി സരസീരുഹ മധുവാദിനി ശൃണുമ.
ആരൊക്കെ അവൻ ദോഷപ്പെടുത്തിയെന്ന് വല്ല ഊഹം കേട്ടോ? ആരും ഉറപ്പായിട്ട് അങ്ങോട്ട് പറയണില്ല. പറയാത്തവരെ കൊണ്ട് പറയിപ്പിക്കാൻ എന്താ സാധാരണ ചെയ്യാ? പറയും. തേളിനെയും പാമ്പിനെയും ഒക്കെ അകത്തേക്ക് കിട്ടുന്നു എന്ന് കേട്ടിട്ടുണ്ട് പണ്ട്. ആ പറ്റില്ലല്ലോ. മുജ്ജന്മത്തിലെ പാപകൃത്യങ്ങൾ കൊണ്ടാണ് അനപത്യം, വൈധവ്യം തുടങ്ങിയ ദുർവിധികൾ വരുന്നത്. അങ്ങനെ സംഭവിച്ചാൽ ഭഗവൻ നാമങ്ങൾ ജപിച്ചും പുണ്യസ്ഥലങ്ങൾ സന്ദർശിച്ചും കഴിയണമെന്നാണ് വിധി. അടുത്ത ജന്മമെങ്കിലും നല്ലത് വേണമെന്ന് വിചാരമുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ കുറ്റം സംബന്ധിച്ച് സത്യാവസ്ഥകൾ മുഴുവൻ പറയാൻ തയ്യാറുണ്ടോ? ചോദിക്കേ.
അവര് ചോദിക്കുന്നത് കേട്ടില്ലേ? എന്തെങ്കിലും ഒന്ന് പറയൂ.
ഇത്ര ഹാർഡ് ഹിറ്റിംഗ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഇപ്പൊ ഈ ഇങ്ങനത്തെ ഒരു സിനിമ എടുക്കുമ്പോൾ തന്നെ അതിനോടുള്ള പാഷനാണ് ഒരു പ്രൊഡ്യൂസർ എന്നുള്ളതിന് ഉപരിയായിട്ട് വിജയകുമാർ ചേട്ടന്റെ ഒരു ഫിലിം എന്നുള്ള ക്രാഫ്റ്റിനോടുള്ള ഒരു പാഷനും കൂടിയാണ് അവിടെ ക്ലിയർ ആയിട്ട് നമുക്ക് കാണാൻ പറ്റുന്നത്. അതുപോലെ സതയം നമ്മൾ പല സിനിമകളും ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ ഡിസ്കഷൻ ഫോറം നമുക്കത് കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ സമയപരിധി കൊണ്ട് നമുക്ക് പറ്റിയിട്ടില്ല. സതയം വേറൊരു സിനിമയാണ്, നമ്മൾ കണ്ടിരുന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ നമുക്ക് അത് ഒരിക്കലും മറക്കാൻ പറ്റാത്തൊരു സിനിമയാണ്. അങ്ങനെ എത്ര സിനിമ.
എനിക്കൊന്ന് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത് ചേട്ടനോട്, ചേട്ടൻ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസറാണ്, ജൂറിയാണ്, ഇവൻ ഡിസ്ട്രിബ്യൂട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ടുണ്ട് പടങ്ങള്, ഒത്തിരി പടങ്ങൾ എടുത്തിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ ഇതില് മാക്സിമം സാറ്റിസ്ഫാക്ഷൻ കിട്ടുന്ന ഏരിയ ഏതാണെന്നുള്ളൊരു പേഴ്സണൽ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ആണ്.
വളരെ സിമ്പിളായിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞാൽ ലാഭവും മാനവും ഒരുമിച്ച് കിട്ടാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഒരു ട്രേഡാണ് സിനിമ. ബട്ട് it's not very often. At least labham kittiya we will survive because we can continue to make movies and stay in the business. Manam means award matram kittittu namakku, I mean, it doesn't keep the company or a business going. Athre oru problem. But fortunately in my banner enikku idinte rendinte oru mix kittittundu. So commercial success has happened and failures also happened. പിന്നെ അവാർഡുകളും റെക്കഗ്നേഷൻസും വേരിയസ് കാറ്റഗറീസ്, പിന്നെ പനോരമ ഇന്റർനാഷണൽ ഫെസ്റ്റിവൽസ്, ഇതെല്ലാം ഒത്തുകിട്ടി. അപ്പൊ അതൊരു റെയർ കോമ്പിനേഷൻ ആയിട്ടും ഒരു റെയർ ലക്കായിട്ടുമാണ് ഞാൻ കൺസിഡർ ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഓഫ് കോഴ്സ് ഐ ഡിഡ്, I mean, mentally I would like to make good films, no doubt about it. Films which you feel, you're proud to say, you can proudly say these are our films. ഇപ്പൊ പരിണയം, സദയോ ഒക്കെ തിയേറ്ററിൽ they did not bring in our money, but believe me, after it came into satellite, huge response. People have been telling what a movie. Even Paradise people loved it. Lot of people called up and said so. Sadayam, of course, theatrical success allayirunengilum theatrical Mohanlal okkalundu, there was some collection, but satellite channel people started liking. That means there is a different class of audience liking such movies. And when it comes to mass, people who throng to the theater the day of release and want to see again and again, mass we can't give in such films. Sure. So our difference market. That is why I earlier mentioned somebody OTT platforms, if they come operative direct to home day one release, believe me, ഈ പരിണയം അതുപോലുള്ള ഫിലിംസിനൊക്കെ ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ മാർക്കറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാകും, അപ്രീസിയേഷൻ ഉണ്ടാകും, വ്യൂവർഷിപ്പ് ഉണ്ടാകും. നമ്മൾ വെറും സൂപ്പർ സ്റ്റാർ സ്റ്റഡഡ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഡിപ്പെൻഡന്റ് ആവില്ല. ക്വാളിറ്റി ഫിലിംസ് യു ക്യാൻ മേക്ക്. We are hoping for it. Yes.
Yeah, sure. That's right.
ചേട്ടൻ എന്താ ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ടെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നല്ലേ?
ചോദ്യമുണ്ട്. എനിക്ക് ചോദിക്കാനുള്ളത്, ഈ എല്ലാ ചിത്രങ്ങളിലും വളരെ വളരെ നല്ല നല്ല ഗാനങ്ങളാണ് കേട്ടിട്ടുള്ളത്. അപ്പോൾ മ്യൂസിക്കുമായിട്ട് എന്തോ ഒരു പ്രത്യേകമായ ബന്ധമുണ്ട്. അപ്പോൾ ഡയറക്ടർ എന്നുള്ള നിലയ്ക്ക് ഒരു മ്യൂസിക് ഡയറക്ടറായിട്ടും കൂടെ ചെയ്യാമായിരുന്നില്ലേ എന്ന് എനിക്കൊരു സംശയം. പ്രൊഡ്യൂസർ
Producer.
ആയിക്കൂടെ എന്നുള്ള
No, music, of course, is always music. എല്ലാവർക്കും ഇഷ്ടമാണ്, അതിന് യാതൊരു സംശയം ഉണ്ടാവില്ല. I all the more love music and good music. Only difference is I still ഒരു കൺവെൻഷണൽ ആയിട്ട് ഒരു നല്ല ലിറിക്സ് ആൻഡ് അതിനെ ഒരു മെലോഡിയസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള മ്യൂസിക്കും വോയിസും ഒക്കെ വരുമ്പോൾ that stays with us. We enjoy that repeatedly. That is why old songs are coming back to us. That has been my taste. And it was coincidence. My film career started with, as I told, Bharathan is fond of music, and he wants music best and best. MT Hariharan sir, they're also music, very keen on good music. Then third film came on Priyadarsham. He's also wanting good music in his films. So altogether, it was more of a coincidence that we all wanted the best music. In fact, Hariharan sir, to the extent, namla Bombay Review poi kondirudhan എന്താന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ that time normal music, not that they were bad, but they were all busy and they want to compose some music today and go for the next composition tomorrow. But nobody is sitting with the director, understanding the mood of the music required. Lyrics, അതിനനുസരിച്ച് people like ONV groups are lyrics എഴുതിയിരിക്കുന്നത്. ആ ലിറിക്സ് വരുമ്പോൾ അതിന്റെ കൂടെ മ്യൂസിക് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഒരു മിക്സിങ് ഒരു ഇതുണ്ട്. ഇതൊന്നും സമയമില്ലാത്തതുകൊണ്ടാണ് ഹരിഹരൻ സാറും ഞങ്ങൾ ബോംബെ പോയിട്ട്, ഒറിജിനലി വി ട്രൈഡ് നൗഷാദ്, he was sick and he couldn't come. Then Ravi സാറിനെ introduced, he came. And believe me, it was such a great thing that, the music director will sit with the director and the lyricist and keep on, correcting. And he will, even when the director said, okay, very good, he will say, sir, wait, you have 2 more options. Okay. So that kind of, contribution from them, and the music came out excellent. So making, is it mute or are you listening? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So that is where the good music came out. And no doubt I love music, but I can't create, I can only enjoy it, that's it. But I fortunately could locate the right people to do the right music. That's why it proved to be good.
Thank you.
അതിപ്പം പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ സുചേട്ടാ, ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മള് സ്വാതി തിരുനാൾ എന്ന സിനിമ എടുക്കുകയാണെങ്കിൽ അത് അതിലെ പാട്ടുകളൊക്കെ തന്നെ വളരെ മെലോഡിയസ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളതും ഹിറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ളതാണ്. നമുക്ക് അതിലത്തെ ഒരു ചെറിയൊരു ഹിറ്റ് നമുക്ക്
പണം അധികം കിട്ടിയില്ല അല്ലേ?
അതെ, പണം പോയി.
ശയന ശ്രീ പത്മനാഭമൂദ കാമവന്ദഗേന്ദ്ര ശയന ശ്രീ പത്മനാഭമൂദ കാമ സന്ന മാനസ മാമവസാരസായത രോചന സാനിധ പമ പഗമരിഗരിസ.
അതുപോലെ അതൊരു ബ്രില്യൻ സിനിമയായിരുന്നു.
Other passionate attempt. Honestly, our film, actually, when the subject was discussed by Lenin, I myself couldn't believe that Ingenu Raja at the age of 32 or 33 he died. Adane Mumbai, ഇത്രയും creative ആയിട്ടുള്ള music in various languages ഒക്കെ ചെയ്ത ഒരു സംഭവം, it's beyond imagination and so great. Then I really wanted, love to make a movie. So what best he wanted was the best of music he wanted. So we came to Chennai, SP Sarne poi kandittu. Then he was so impressed with the Swati Tirunal title, name, everything. He was impressed, and we really got the best music. And I still believe that was a good movie, but unfortunately, that is not the mass appeal film. So it had its own share of problems in the financial side.
Very true.
Right. But the movie and the music has been excellent. In fact, those days, when it comes to music, I think a wonderful thing what happened to my company or banner is when we were doing Kathodu Gadaram on the one side and music. Another, of course, Mr. Bharathan personally wanted also, the opportunity to be made the music director. Of course, Bharathan also was involved. അങ്ങനെ നല്ല മ്യൂസിക് വന്നു, കാതോട് കാതോരം മ്യൂസിക്. അപ്പൊ പഞ്ചാഗ്നി നക്ഷത്രങ്ങളിലെ ബോംബെ റിവ്യൂടെ എക്സലന്റ് മ്യൂസിക്. So you gave it to Yeshudas and Anna Mark company under them. So Tarangadi. So we gave that cassette. These 3 film songs put together, the cassette was the best sale of those days. Such a collection of selected, excellent, fantastic music. Nobody could deliver one cassette those days. It did that way, very great impact. And we're fortunate to have such music.
We're proud. പ്രൗഡല്ലേ നമ്മളെല്ലാരും പ്രൗഡാണ്.
I know. These are all the balance sheet in our cinema experience. Now the final balance sheet is some unique achievements. It happens sometimes.
നേരത്തെ ചേട്ടൻ പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ നമുക്കെന്നാ കുറച്ച് ബ്ലോക്ക് ബസ്റ്റർ മാസ് സെല്ലിംഗ് സംഗതികളിലേക്ക് കിടക്കാം. ഇപ്പം കോമഡി 80കളിലെ 90കളിലെ ചില കോമഡി സിനിമകളിലേക്ക് എന്താ പറയാ അത്യുന്നതങ്ങളിലേക്ക് കൊണ്ടുപോകാൻ നമ്മുടെ ചേട്ടന്റെ സിനിമകൾക്ക് സാധിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. അപ്പം അത് എന്താന്നുള്ളതും അതിൽ ചില രസകരമായ അനുഭവങ്ങളൊക്കെ ഇനി നമുക്ക് ഓഡിയൻസ് ആയിട്ടൊന്ന് പങ്കുവയ്ക്കാം. അപ്പം ക്ലിപ്പ് ഒന്ന് കാണാം.
നീ വല്ലാണ്ട് മെലിഞ്ഞുപോയി തന്നെ. വല്ലാണ്ട് മെലിഞ്ഞുപോയി. ഞാനേ ഈ ബാഗും കുറെ തുണിയൊക്കെ വാങ്ങിച്ചോണ്ട് വന്നു. പെട്ടെന്ന് വിസ ശരിയാണെങ്കിൽ അമേരിക്ക പോണ്ടേ. അമേരിക്ക വേണമെങ്കിൽ ഞാനും കൂടെ വരാൻ കേട്ടാ. വേണ്ട, നീ നിർബന്ധിച്ച കമ്മീഷണർ സമ്മതിക്കും. എങ്ങനെ? നീ നിർബന്ധിച്ച കമ്മീഷണർ സമ്മതിക്കും? ഇല്ല, ഞാൻ നിർബന്ധിക്കില്ല. എനിക്കിനി നടക്കാനൊന്നും വയ്യ, ഒരിടത്തിരിക്കാം. എംബസിക്കാരൻ കോടം പറഞ്ഞ് ഇങ്ങോട്ട് വരട്ടെ. നമ്മൾ സേഡികളാണ്. ഇവിടെ ഇങ്ങനെ ചടഞ്ഞിരുന്നു കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ആൾക്കാർ ശ്രദ്ധിക്കും. ഇങ്ങനെ നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരുന്നാൽ ആരും ശ്രദ്ധിക്കില്ല. നീ വാ, നമുക്ക് മറുകോട് പറഞ്ഞൊരു ശ്രമം നടത്തി നോക്കാം. വാ, എനിക്ക് മറുകോടോ? അതെ, സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ട്. We are not shouting. We are serious from India.
പിന്നെ ഇഷ്ടം പോലെ. നിനക്കറിയോ, ഞാൻ ബ്രൗൺ ഷുഗറിന്റെ ആശാനായിരുന്നു. നീ വെറും കൊച്ചു പയ്യൻ.
അങ്ങനെ എപ്പോഴും നീ എന്നെ കൊച്ചാക്കൊന്നും വേണ്ട. എന്റെ എല്ലാ ബർത്ത്ഡേക്കും ഞാൻ ഒരു പാക്കറ്റ് സിഗരറ്റ് വാങ്ങിക്കും. ഇന്ത്യൻ സിഗരറ്റ് ഒന്നുമല്ല, ഫോറിൻ, വിദേശി. മറ്റൊരു സത്യം പറയട്ടെ, ഞാൻ വെള്ളം അടിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. സൈമന്റെ സെന്റ് ഓഫ് പാർട്ടിക്ക് ഒരു ഗ്ലാസ് ബിയർ. എന്റെ ആഗ്രഹം വെളിപ്പെടുത്താൻ ധൈര്യം ഉണ്ടായില്ല.
മുകുന്ദേട്ടൻ ഒരിക്കലെങ്കിലും എന്നോട് സ്നേഹമാണെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞിട്ടുണ്ടോ?
വളരെ വളരെ വൈകിപ്പോയ ഒരു ചോദ്യം. സുമിത്രയ്ക്ക് എന്നെ ഇഷ്ടമാണോ?
ഒരു 100 തവണ കേൾക്കാൻ ആഗ്രഹിച്ച ചോദ്യമാണത്.
ഒന്ന് ചോദിച്ചോട്ടെ ഡോക്ടർ, നിങ്ങൾ ഇവിടെ വരുന്നവരെ ഭ്രാന്ത് പിടിപ്പിക്കാറുണ്ടോ?
സോറി, ഇതൊക്കെ ഞങ്ങളുടെ ഓരോ ടെസ്റ്റുകളാണ്.
ഈ ചിത്രം നോക്കി ഒരു കഥ പറയാമോ? ടെസ്റ്റ് അല്ലേ, പറയാം. എനിക്ക് ഭ്രാന്തില്ലാന്ന് തെളിയിക്കേണ്ടത് എന്റെ മാത്രം ആവശ്യമാണല്ലോ ഇപ്പോഴ്.
What do you mean, doctor?
ഞങ്ങൾക്ക് അയാളിൽ ഒരു തകരാറും കാണാൻ കഴിയുന്നില്ല. അങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഒരാളെ എങ്ങനെ അഡ്മിറ്റ് ചെയ്യും? എന്താണ് അയാളുടെ അസുഖം?
ഞാൻ അവന്റെ ജ്യേഷ്ഠനാണ്, എനിക്കറിയാം. He's mad.
ഞാൻ ഏത് ഷേപ്പിൽ തിരിച്ചു വരുമെന്ന് എനിക്ക് നിശ്ചയമില്ല. ഏത് ഷേപ്പിൽ തിരിച്ചു വന്നാലും തന്നെ വീട്ടിൽ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് വിടണം, കേട്ടോടെ?
തീരുമാനം എടുത്താൽ അതിന് മാറ്റം ഉണ്ടാവില്ലെന്ന് എനിക്കറിയാമല്ലോ.
അപ്പോ സാറ് തീരുമാനിച്ചു കഴിഞ്ഞു?
അതെ.
അല്ല, എനിക്കറിയാൻ മേലാത്തോണ്ട് ചോദിക്കുക, താൻ ആരുവാ?
നാരായണ
പൂരായണ പോവേ. തനിക്കൊരു വിചാരമുണ്ട് താൻ ഏതോ കോപ്പിലെ വലിയ രാജാവാണെന്ന്. താൻ ഒരു പുല്ലുമല്ല. 1-2 ദിവസം ലണ്ടനിൽ പോയി ഏതോ ഒരു ഓന്തൻ റിച്ചാർഡ് സാഹിബിന് അരിവെച്ച് കൊടുത്ത് കിട്ടിയ കാശ് കൊണ്ട് ഒരു പഴയ കൊട്ടാരം വാങ്ങി അവിടെ ഒരു ആശുപത്രിയും തുടങ്ങി അവിടെ പ്രാന്തമാരെ പട്ടാളത്തിട്ട പഠിപ്പിക്കുന്ന ഒരു വിവരം കെട്ട പന്ന റാസ്കലല്ലേ താൻ. തന്നോട് മാത്രമല്ല, ഈ നാട്ടിലുള്ള എല്ലാവരോടും ഞാൻ പറയുകയും ചെയ്യും. ഇനി ഒരു മൈക്കും ഒരു സൈക്കിളും എടുത്തോണ്ട് ഞാൻ ഇറങ്ങാൻ പോവാ. രവീന്ദ്ര, തന്നെയും തന്റെ മോളെയും ഈ നാട്ടിൽ ഈ നാരായണൻ നാറ്റിച്ചില്ലെങ്കിൽ തന്റെ പേര് തന്റെ പട്ടിക്ക് താനിട്ടോ. അറിയോ? പോട്ടെ സാർ.
ഇത്ര തന്മയത്വത്തോടെ അഭിനയിക്കാൻ പറ്റുന്ന ഇത്രയധികം ആൾക്കാരുടെ കൂടെ. അപ്പം ഇതിന്റെ കൂടെ ഈ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസർ എന്ന നിലയ്ക്ക് വിജയകുമാർ ചേട്ടൻ അഭിനയിച്ചിട്ടുമുണ്ട്. താളവട്ടത്തിൽ നമ്മളിപ്പോ കണ്ടു. കണ്ടു.
ഇനി ഒരു ചോദ്യം ഉണ്ട് കേട്ടോ. മൂന്നേട്ട എന്ന് വിളിക്കുന്നതിന് പകരം വിജയേട്ട എന്ന് ആരെങ്കിലും വിളിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടായിരുന്നോ?
അങ്ങനെ കുഴപ്പമൊന്നുമില്ല, അങ്ങനെ ഒന്നുമില്ല, പേടിക്കണ്ട.
അപ്പൊ ആ അനുഭവങ്ങളൊക്കെ, ചില രസകരമായ അനുഭവങ്ങളൊക്കെ ആൾക്കാർക്ക് നമുക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും കേൾക്കാൻ താല്പര്യമുണ്ട്.
ഇതിനകത്ത് പിന്നെ ഞാൻ ആക്ച്വലി രസകരമായ സംഭവമുള്ള ഒരു ഇൻസിഡന്റ് നമ്മുടെ അക്കരയില്ല. കാരണം ആ പടത്തിന്റെ ഒക്കെ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് സമയത്ത് നമ്മൾ ഫുൾ ടൈം കൂടെയാണല്ലോ. മറ്റേ ഇവിടുത്തെ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ആയിരിക്കും നമ്മൾ പല പരിപാടിയായിട്ട് വേറെ പടത്തിന്റെ പണിയാണോ അല്ലെ റിലീസ് ആണോ അങ്ങനെ പോകും. അപ്പം അപ്പോ മുകുന്ദേറ്റ അക്കരയുടെ ഷൂട്ടിങ് നമ്മൾ അമേരിക്കയിൽ പോകുന്നു. അവിടെ നമ്മുടെ ഒരു ഫ്രണ്ട്, അന്ന് MG സ്വാമിന്റെ ഒരു ഫ്രണ്ടാണ്, എല്ലാ പെർമിഷൻസും എല്ലാം ഓക്കെ റെഡി എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് എല്ലാം ഓക്കെ പ്രോമിസ് ഒക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു. അവിടെ ചെന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ മനസ്സിലായി അയാള് വലുതായിട്ടൊന്നും ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല. പിന്നെ നമ്മൾ പെർമിഷനൊക്കെ മേടിച്ചിട്ട് പടം ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യണം. അത് അവിടെ പെർമിഷൻ ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ പ്രോബ്ലം ആണ്, പക്ഷെ പെർമിഷൻ കിട്ടാൻ ഈസിയാണ്, വിച്ചാർ പെർമിസിബിൾ ഏരിയ. അങ്ങനെ ഞങ്ങൾ അതിനകത്തൊരു സീൻ കൊണ്ടൊരു ഒരു ബോട്ട് ഇങ്ങനെ പാർക്ക് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്ന ഒരു ഏരിയ. അതിൻ്റെ ഇപ്പുറത്ത് റോഡാണ്. റോഡിൽ ഫുട്പാത്ത് പോലെ ഉണ്ട് താനും. അവിടെ ഈ മോഹൻലാലും ശ്രീനിവാസന പച്ചയും മഞ്ഞയൊക്കെ ഒരു ടീഷർട്ടും ബിരിയാണിയും ഒക്കെ ഇട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഡാൻസ്, ആ പാട്ടിന്റെ റീൽസ് ആ പാട്ട് ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാണ്. അപ്പോ ആസ് യൂഷ്വൽ നമ്മുടെ കൂടെ പ്രൊഡക്ഷൻ എന്നുള്ള കുറച്ച് പിള്ളേർ ഇവിടുന്ന് വന്നിട്ടുണ്ട്. അവരൊക്കെ ആ ഫുട്പാത്തിൽ ചെന്നിട്ട് ചായയും കാപ്പിയും കൊക്കക്കോളയൊക്കെ വെച്ചോണ്ട് അങ്ങോട്ട് ഇരിക്കുന്നു. ഇവർ അവിടെ ഷൂട്ടിങ്, ആ ബോട്ടുകാരന്റെ പെർമിഷൻ മേടിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ആ ബോട്ട് യാർഡുകാരനോട് ഞങ്ങൾ വി ടുക്ക് ദ പെർമിഷൻ, വി ആർ ഷൂട്ടിങ് എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു. അവര് ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ തുടങ്ങിയപ്പം കുറച്ച് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ പോലീസ് കാർ വന്ന് പോലീസുകാരൻ ഇങ്ങനെ വന്ന് നോക്കി. ഓഫ്കോഴ്സ് അവിടെ എപ്പോഴും പോലീസ് എവിടെ ആളുണ്ടാലും അവർ വരില്ല. അവർ വന്ന് ജസ്റ്റ് ലുക്ക്ഡ് ആൻഡ് സെഡ് വാട്ട്സ് ഹാപ്പനിങ്, ഫിലിം ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. ഓക്കെ, യു ഹാവ് പെർമിഷൻ? അപ്പോ നമ്മൾ പറഞ്ഞു വി ഹാവ് പെർമിഷൻ. വാട്ട് ഈസ് ഇറ്റ്, ബോട്ട് കിടക്കുന്ന യാർഡിന്റെ അവരുടെ പെർമിഷൻസ് ഒക്കെ ഉണ്ട്. സോ ഹി സെഡ് you can't sit in this footpath. They are very strict. Footpath block ചെയ്യാൻ പറ്റില്ല. People have to walk, so you have to move from here and there എന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പം നമ്മുടെ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് നിർത്തി ക്യാമറാമാനും ഡയറക്ടറും ഒക്കെ വന്ന് പോലീസുകാരന്റെ ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ എല്ലാം നോക്കി നിൽക്കുന്നുണ്ട്. ഈ പോലീസുകാരൻ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ഈ സെറ്റ് ഓക്കേ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ് മൂവ് ചെയ്തു. ഈ മൂവ് ഒരു 50 feet we moved and he came back in reverse. എന്നിട്ട് ഞാൻ ഫ്രണ്ടിൽ പോണ്ട് എന്നോട് ചോദിച്ചു, സോറി. അപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ അന്നേരം ഒരു കള്ളം പറഞ്ഞു. ഞങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞ് പെർമിഷൻ മേടിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത് വി ആർ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ഫ്രം ഇന്ത്യ എന്നുള്ള പിന്നെ ഫിലിം സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ആണ്. വി ആർ കം ഫോർ അവർ ഡെമോ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ഇൻ US. അതിനുള്ള പെർമിഷൻ, ഈ ബോട്ടുകാരുടെ പെർമിഷൻ ഉള്ളു, റോഡിന് പെർമിഷൻ ഇല്ല. ദാറ്റ്സ് വൈ വി സെഡ് ഓ യു ആർ മേക്കിംഗ് ഡോക്യുമെന്ററി, യു ആർ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ്, ഫിലിം ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട് സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ഒക്കെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് ആ പോലീസുകാരൻ അങ്ങ് പോയത്. ഹി കെയിം ബാക്ക് and he showed the camera and said, you are shooting students, you are shooting with air reflex camera. Air reflex, that is the latest camera of the commercial film shooting camera. Students or trainees or documentary people won't use such expensive cameras. This is, and of course we took the latest cameras. പോലീസുകാരൻ ഇതെങ്ങനെ പിടികിട്ടി എന്നുള്ള ഒരു സംശയം നമുക്ക്. പോലീസുകാരന് ഇവിടുത്തെ പോലീസുകാരന്റെ ക്യാമറ ഏതാണ്, എയർ റിഫ്ലെക്സ് എന്താണെന്നൊന്നും പിടിയില്ല. So why he asked that question? Then we said, no, we are really students, but our institute sponsor this camera and all those things. He said, no, I can't believe you are doing commercial films. അപ്പൊ ഞങ്ങൾ എസ്കേപ്പ് ചെയ്ത് ലാസ്റ്റ് വഴിയെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ശ്രീനിവാസൻ ഈ പച്ചയും മഞ്ഞയും ബെനിനും ഒക്കെ ഇട്ട് അവിടെ ഷൂട്ടിങ്ങിന്റെ ലൊക്കേഷൻ അവിടെ പോയിട്ട് ഞങ്ങൾ പോലീസാണ്, സാർ സീ ദാറ്റ് ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റ്, ഡു യു തിങ്ക് എനിബഡി വിൽ ബ്രേക്ക് കൊമേഴ്സ്യൽ ഫിലിം വിത്ത്? പോലീസുകാരൻ നോക്കിയപ്പോ കണ്ടു. ഓക്കെ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു പോയി. അങ്ങനെയാണ് ഞങ്ങൾ അക്കരെയൊക്കെ അമേരിക്കയിലെ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് കുറെ നടത്തി തിരിച്ചു വന്നു. അങ്ങനെ കുറച്ച് ഇൻസിഡൻസ്. പിന്നെ അവിടെ ഞങ്ങൾ പോയി പെടലെന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ ഈ അമേരിക്കയിൽ നമ്മുടെ ഫ്രണ്ട്, ലോക്കൽ ഫ്രണ്ട് എല്ലാം ചെയ്യാന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞ് റെഡിയായി. അവിടെ ചെന്ന് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ നമുക്ക് അക്കോമഡേഷൻ എല്ലാം വി ഗോട്ട് എ ഡിസ്കൗണ്ടഡ് പ്രൈസ് ഇൻ ഹോളിഡേ ഹോട്ടൽ, ആ ചെയിനകത്ത് വി ഗോട്ട് ഇറ്റ് എ കൺസെഷൻ പ്രൈസ്. ഹോളിഡേ ഇൻ ഗ്രൂപ്പിനകത്ത് എല്ലാവരും താമസമൊക്കെ ആയി. തൊട്ടപ്പുറത്തൊരു പിന്നെ കെൻഡക്കിയുടെ ഷോപ്പുണ്ട്, അവിടുന്ന് അതിൽ മാക്ഡൊണാൾഡ്സ് ഉണ്ട്. മാക്ഡൊണാൾഡിൽ നിന്ന് ഫുഡൊക്കെ മേടിച്ച് കൊടുക്കാം എന്നൊക്കെ ഉള്ള അറേഞ്ച്മെന്റ്സിലാണ്. ഒരു 2-3 ദിവസം കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോഴത്തേക്കും നമ്മുടെ ക്രൂ, വി ആർ അബൌട്ട് 33 പീപ്പിൾ നാവും, അവർക്കൊക്കെ നമ്മുടെ കേരള ഫുഡ് വേണം, നാടൻ ഫുഡ് വേണം, ഈ കെൻഡക്കിയും മറ്റേ പരിപാടിയൊന്നും നടക്കൂല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പം ഞങ്ങൾ പെട്ടി എങ്ങനെയായി ഫുഡിന്റെ കാര്യം നടന്നത്. ഒരു ഇന്ത്യൻ കാറ്ററിംഗ് കാരനെ തപ്പി. അപ്പൊ ആരാണ്ട് പറഞ്ഞു ഇന്ത്യൻ കാറ്ററിംഗ് കാരനെ കിട്ടും. അവൻ കിട്ടിയപ്പോ പഞ്ചാബിയാ, മലയാളി കാറ്ററിംഗ് കാരൻ ഹൂസ്റ്റണിലാണ്, ഹൂസ്റ്റൺ. പഞ്ചാബി കാറ്ററിംഗ് കാരന്റെ ഫുഡ് ഹോട്ടലിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോകണം സ്പെഷ്യൽ പെർമിഷൻ വേണം. ദാറ്റ് ഓൾസോ വി മാനേജ്. ഹോട്ടലിന്റെ പെർമിഷൻ മേടിച്ച് ഇവരെ ഒപ്പിച്ചു കൊടുക്കാം. ഹി ആസ് എ സ്പെഷ്യൽ കേസ് എഗ്രി ചെയ്തു. പഞ്ചാബി ഫുഡ് വന്നപ്പോൾ അത് ശരിയാവില്ല, ഇവർക്ക് മലയാളി ഫുഡ് തന്നെ കിട്ടണം. നമ്മുടെ ഷൂട്ടിങ്ങും കൊണ്ട് എല്ലാം പ്രോബ്ലമാണ്. അങ്ങനെ ഇരിക്കുമ്പോഴാണ് നമ്മുടെ ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് എടുത്തൊരു ഗുണമുണ്ട്. അവിടെ ഒരുപാട് മലയാളി, ഐ മീൻ വൈഫൊക്കെ എംപ്ലോയിഡും ഹസ്ബൻഡ്സ് വലിയ മേജർ എംപ്ലോയ്മെന്റ് ഇല്ലാത്ത ഒരുപാട് പേരുണ്ട്. അവർ വണ്ടി ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ഉള്ളതുകൊണ്ടെല്ലാം വരും. അവർക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിനോട് ഫോട്ടോ എടുക്കണം, കൂടെ നടക്കണം, വീട്ടിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോകണം, ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ പരിപാടി. അവസാനം ഞങ്ങൾ പറഞ്ഞൊരു പരിപാടി, വീട്ടിൽ കൊണ്ടുപോയി ഫോട്ടോ എടുപ്പൊക്കെ നടക്കും. പക്ഷെ നമുക്ക് കപ്പ, മീന്, ഇന്ത്യൻ നമ്മുടെ നാടൻ ഫുഡുകൾ, കുറെ സാധനങ്ങൾ ഉച്ചയ്ക്ക് വൈകിട്ടൊക്കെ എവിടെ ഒപ്പിച്ചു നൽകും. ദർ ഇസ് നോ ഇന്ത്യ കേരള റെസ്റ്റോറൻറ്റ്. അങ്ങനെ കുറെ പേര് വീട്ടിൽ നിന്ന് ഫുഡും കാര്യങ്ങളും ഒക്കെ ആയിട്ട് സപ്പോർട്ട് ചെയ്ത് ഞങ്ങൾ അവിടെ ഒരു വിധത്തിൽ ഷൂട്ടിങ് തീർന്ന സ്ഥലം വിട്ടു വന്നു. അങ്ങനത്തെ 2 എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് ആണ് ഞങ്ങളുടെ അമേരിക്കൻ ഷൂട്ടിങ്ങിനകത്ത് ആ പടത്തിനായിട്ടുണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ളത്.
അല്ല, ചേട്ടനാ പറഞ്ഞത് ആ സിനിമയില് ശ്രീനിവാസന്റെ ക്യാരക്ടർ വിജയൻ അല്ലേ, എപ്പോഴും ചവിട്ടി താഴ്ത്തിട്ടിരിക്കുന്നതാണ്. അവിടെ ചെന്ന് റിയൽ ലൈഫിലും അങ്ങനെ ആക്കി കളഞ്ഞല്ലേ?
അല്ലല്ല, പോലീസുകാരനെ ഇയാളെ കാണിച്ചുകൊണ്ടല്ലേ ഞങ്ങളെ വിട്ടത്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൊമേഴ്സ്യൽ ഫിലിം എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അവിടുത്തെ ഫീസ് വെരി പ്രൊഹിബിറ്റീവ്ലി ഹൈ ആണല്ലോ. യു ഹാവ് ടു പേ മില്യൺസ് ഇഫ് യു വാണ്ട് എ പെർമിഷൻ ടു ഷൂട്ട്, ഇഫ് യു വാണ്ട്. ഇത് നമ്മൾ സ്റ്റുഡൻസ് ആണ് ഇവിടെ നിന്നൊക്കെ പറഞ്ഞിട്ട് രക്ഷപ്പെട്ട് പോയത്. അപ്പൊ പിന്നെ
2-3 പ്രാവശ്യം ഈ സിനിമയുടെ ഷൂട്ടിങ്ങിന്റെ ഇടയിൽ ആ സിനിമയിൽ ഉള്ള പോലെ തന്നെ സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ടോ, സാധനം കയ്യിലുണ്ടോ എന്നൊക്കെ നടക്കുന്നത്.
അതെ അതെ, അതെന്താന്ന് വെച്ചാൽ വെൻ വി ഷൂട്ട് ഔട്ട്സൈഡ് കേരള, ഐ മീൻ ഔട്ട്സൈഡ് ഇന്ത്യ മോസ്റ്റ്ലി, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ നോർത്ത് ഇന്ത്യ ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യുമ്പോഴും ഒരു ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിനെ കുറയ്ക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി നമ്മൾ പ്രൊഡ്യൂസർമാർ കയറി ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റ് അവാർഡ് വെച്ച്, അങ്ങനെയാണ് ഞങ്ങളുടെയൊക്കെ അഭിനയ റോളുകൾ നടക്കുന്നത്. ഒരാളിനെ അവിടെ വരെ കൊണ്ടുവരാനും താമസിപ്പിക്കാനും, അമേരിക്ക ആകുമ്പോൾ വിസ എല്ലാ പ്രോബ്ലം ഇല്ലേ. സോ ചിലത്തെ നമ്മൾ കൂട്ടത്തിൽ കയറി അങ്ങനെ അഭിനയിച്ചു.
ഇതിൽ ചോദിക്കാനുള്ള ഒരു കാര്യം, ഈ ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിന്റെ കോമഡി അവതരിപ്പിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഇപ്പം ജഗതി ശ്രീ, മോഹൻലാൽ, ലാലേട്ടനായാലും ശരി, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ശ്രീനിവാസനും ആൻഡ് സോ ഓൺ ആൻഡ് സോ ഫോർത്ത്, ഇങ്ങനെ ഏറ്റവും ചിരിച്ചു പോയ ഒരു ഷൂട്ടിംഗ് ലൊക്കേഷനിൽ തന്നെ ഇത് കണ്ടിട്ട് സിനിമയൊക്കെ ആവുന്നതിന് മുമ്പ് തന്നെ കണ്ട് ചിരിച്ച് മതി പറഞ്ഞ എന്തെങ്കിലും ഓർമ്മയുണ്ടോ?
എനിക്ക് ഓഫ് ഹാൻഡ് പറയാൻ പറ്റുന്നില്ല. കാരണം ഈ 2 കാര്യമുണ്ട്. ഈ കോമഡി ഫിലിംസിന്റെ മോസ്റ്റ് കേസസ് സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റ് എഴുതുന്നതിനെക്കാട്ടിൽ അതിന്റെ ലൊക്കേഷൻ ഇംപ്രവൈസേഷൻ നടക്കും സാധാരണഗതിയിൽ. കാരണം ഇപ്പൊ ഈ കോമഡി ചെയ്യുന്ന ഡയറക്ടേഴ്സും അത് ചെയ്യുന്ന മെയിൻലി ഇപ്പൊ മോഹൻലാൽ സഹിതം ജഗതി ശ്രീകുമാർ ആണെങ്കിലും ശ്രീനിവാസനാണെങ്കിലും ഇവർക്കൊക്കെ ഈ ലൊക്കേഷൻ വെച്ച് സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റിനകത്ത് കുറെ മോഡിഫിക്കേഷനും കുറെ സ്റ്റൈലൈസേഷനും അവരുടേതായ രീതിയിൽ കൊണ്ടുവരുന്ന ഒരു പ്രോസസ് ഉണ്ട്. അപ്പൊ അതുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ അങ്ങനെ സത്യത ഐ ഡോണ്ട് റിമെമ്പർ എനി സച്ച് തിങ്സ്. പിന്നെ ഞാൻ അവിടെ പറഞ്ഞില്ലേ ഫുൾ ടൈം ലൊക്കേഷനിലൊക്കെ നിൽക്കാത്തതുകൊണ്ട് എനിക്ക് വലിയ എക്സ്പീരിയൻസ് ഇല്ല കാര്യങ്ങളില്. ബട്ട് യെസ്,
ഇപ്പൊ ജഗതിയുടെ ജഗദീഷ് പറയുകയാണെങ്കിൽ ആ ഒരു സീൻ ഇപ്പൊ നമ്മൾ കണ്ടല്ലോ, താളവട്ടത്തിലെ സീൻ, അതൊക്കെ ഒരുപക്ഷെ അതുപോലെ അഭിനയിക്കാനായിട്ട് എത്ര പേരുണ്ടാവും എന്ന് വരെ നമ്മൾ ആലോചിക്കും അല്ലെ, അത് കണ്ടു കഴിഞ്ഞ് ചിരിച്ചിട്ട്.
അതെ, ആ ഫോർമുല ആക്ച്വലി ഇത് പ്രിയന്റെ ക്രിയേഷൻ ആണല്ലോ. ആ ഒരു സീക്വൻസ് പ്രിയനാണ് അത് ഉണ്ടാക്കി. വളരെ ഹൈലൈറ്റ് ആയിട്ടുള്ള ഒരു ഹ്യൂമർ സീനാണ്. പ്രിയൻ ആക്ച്വലി ഇന്നസെന്റിനെ കൊണ്ട് അത് കിലുക്കത്തിലും ചെയ്യിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഏതാണ്ട് അതേ മൂടി വരുന്ന ഒരു സിറ്റുവേഷൻ ചെയ്യിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇന്നസെന്റ് കമ്മിങ് ആൻഡ് അബ്യൂസിങ്, അതാരും മറ്റേ ക്യാരക്ടർ അറിയില്ല. ബട്ട് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ പോലെ അതൊരു ഒരു ഹ്യൂമർ ടച്ച് ഉള്ള ആളിനെ അതിന്റെ കറക്റ്റ് പ്ലേസിൽ കൊണ്ടിട്ടാൽ ഇറ്റ് ഈസ് എവർ ടൈം ഹ്യൂമർ സീക്വൻസ് ആയിട്ട് മാറും.
Yeah, that's in Chitram, I think. Chitram, I think he got the lottery and then...
ഇതേ മുഹൂർത്തം കൊണ്ടിരുന്നുണ്ട്. So it is very interesting to see such sequences. And ഇത് actually more of ഒരു spontaneity ഉണ്ട് ഇവർക്ക്. People who have that humor sense to create. When they meet, when they discuss, he conceives and delivers, and artists contributing extra to it. That's how it goes.
I think we have a question from Vincent Chitlapalli. Do you want to unmute yourself, Vincent? You have a question.
Yes. I hope you guys can hear me and see me.
Yes.
Very great to listen to GP Vijayakumar sir. So I have a couple of questions. The first question is, Seven Art says they have done amazing commercially successful films consistently. So when you come across a project, what is your filtering process? You used to reject a lot of films, a lot of scripts or projects, then you finalize these things, or is there any? What are your instincts typically?
There are two ways of going about. One, in the beginning stages when we were doing Panjakni or Talavatam, those days, the established writers like Mr. M.T. Star, Lohit Das, upon every cases we do know that they can deliver a script, no doubt of it. They won't fail on the script, but the subject sometimes it may or have some problem, but we don't know. But script from their side is almost a sure case. John Paul and established directors, script writers, when they are there, we do go trust them and move forward. Otherwise, if somebody comes with a proposal, somebody comes with a new subject, today we insist on a bound script, but those days we will listen to the plot, and invariably the director will be the one who will have to give us an assurance that yes, I can make a film out of it, or I can make a script out of it, or you engage where the script writer engage, but the project will happen, and that process will carry on these things. Those days, believe me, a good percentage of the story script people come with all, Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, scenes, they were actually not ideal for Malayalam. Malayalam always there has to be some genuinity in the plot, some sort of freshness in the treatment, something has to be there. A lot of films. So these two ways we worked, but today we lack those established directors or established writers who, not established directors, I'm sorry, established writers whom we can rely and totally depend. Yes, script will come. No. Today it is actually a combination of a writer with a director and probably a team of, youngsters or writers who discuss and they evolve a subject. And we have to be choosy, because if you get to the wrong subject, see, you spend the same money, you spend the same time, you send the same efforts, you spend the same artist arrangements, but you end up losing a project of money. So if you get the right project, yes, everything based on the subject and script today. So this is how we move forward now.
Great. So, Vijay, we are just conscious of time also. Appo nammallu oru moonalu question lode
yes.
അപ്പൊ അതിൽ ഒരു ചോദ്യം ഞാനിപ്പോ ചോദിക്കാം, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ പിന്നെ സുഖിച്ചാറിന് ചോദിക്കാനുണ്ട്, അതുപോലെ ശ്രീരാം. അപ്പം ഞാൻ ചോദിക്കുന്നത്, ഈ ഇത്രയും കാലം 50 വർഷമായിട്ട് ഈ ഗ്ലാമറും ഫിലിം ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി ഗ്ലാമർ ഇൻഡസ്ട്രിയാണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിനകത്ത് കുറെ മൂവ്മെന്റ്സ് ഉണ്ടാവും, ഗോസിപ്പിനുള്ള ചാൻസുകളൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടാവും. അപ്പം ഇത് ഒരു വ്യക്തിപരമായ ചോദ്യം കൂടിയാണ്, ഒരു കുസൃതി ചോദ്യം. എങ്ങനെയാണ് ഇത്രയും ഗ്ലാമർ ഉള്ള ഒരാള് അഭിനയിച്ചിട്ടുണ്ടല്ലോ സിനിമയിലൊക്കെ, എങ്ങനെ, how do you navigate, how have you managed it?
Well, see, cinema, it is more talked about than what really is inside. Because people are interested to talk about film people or film related things, or to the extent people make stories out of nothing also and make it. So it is more of gossip and moving around. So I personally feel we shouldn't give much importance to it and move forward. What they speak, okay, you listen to it. What they speak, you listen to it. And for some people, you will say, whatever you say, you are right. So let him be happy with what you say. Some people want to hear that there is nothing like that. Okay, for nothing like that for you. So keep moving without, ഇമ്പോർട്ടൻസും വാല്യൂവും കൊടുക്കാൻ പോയ ഫിലിം ഇൻഡസ്ട്രി is very dangerous zone, because every other പേഴ്സണെ പറ്റി, least about producers, also more about artists and directors, എന്തെല്ലാം, they can really literally kill those people with the gossip and unwanted stories and all those things. So I think today's generation, they don't care also if people spoil it, and it's okay. We ignore and move. That's the only way. There's no other way.
Absolutely. ഒരു ചോദ്യം കൂടി ചോദിച്ചേക്കാം, അത് കഴിഞ്ഞ പിന്നെ സൂചന. ഈ ഇപ്പം നമ്മൾ ഈ ഇന്നത്തെ ഈ പ്രോഗ്രാമിൽ ഒരു ഔട്ട്സൈഡ് ഇൻ ആൻഡ് ഇൻസൈഡ് ഔട്ട് വ്യൂവില് നമ്മൾ ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിക് സിനിമകളും കമേഴ്ഷ്യൽ സിനിമകളും രണ്ടും കണ്ടു. അപ്പം കുമാർ ചേട്ടൻ്റെ ഒരു ടേക്ക് എന്താണ്? ഈ ആർട്ട് സിനിമ ആൻഡ് കമേഴ്ഷ്യൽ സിനിമ അത് രണ്ടും രണ്ട് ധ്രുവങ്ങളിലാണോ എന്നും, അതോ ഇതിന് മീറ്റ് ചെയ്യാനൊരു സാധ്യതയുണ്ടോ, ഇല്ലെങ്കിൽ എന്താണ് ആ ഒരു ഒബ്സർവേഷൻ, ഒരു വ്യൂ പോയിന്റ്?
Well, ആർട്ട് സിനിമ മലയാളത്തിൽ ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിക് വാല്യൂയും കൊമേഴ്സ്യൽ സക്സസ് ആകുന്ന സിനിമ ഉണ്ടായിട്ടുണ്ട്. ഇൻഫാക്ട് പഞ്ചാഗ്നി ഒക്കെ അതിന്റെ ഒരു എക്സാമ്പിൾ ആണ്, ഈവൻ കിരീടം ഫോർ ദാറ്റ് മാറ്റർ, ബിക്കോസ് ദേ ഹാവ് റിയൽ ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റിക് വാല്യൂ മറ്റുണ്ട്. ബട്ട് ഈ ആർട്ട് എന്നും പറഞ്ഞ് നടക്കുന്ന ഒരു ടീം ഓഫ് ഫിലിം മേക്കേഴ്സ്, എൻ്റെ അനുഭവത്തിൽ ഇറ്റ്സ് ഓൾ ഒരുമാതിരി ഒരു എന്താ പറയുക, അത് they claim that they will make cinema business and they will get artists to do role and they will bring them and all, but eventually the film will not run in theaters, it will not bring money also. ഇങ്ങനെയുള്ള ഒരു സംഭവമാണ് നടക്കുന്നത്. I don't know whether our friend has gone. Jimmy is still on board.
Jimmy is still there. Yeah.
Well, what I will come to this people, I mean, this scenario is with a simple, an interesting story happened about film critics and film, art people. We call them, that the Thadi group of, people who are into art cinemas and all. The interesting story is, ഞാൻ ഇപ്പൊ ഫിലിം ജൂറിയിൽ ഇരിക്കുമ്പോഴേ അവിടെയാണ് ഈ തമാശ വന്നത്. സത്യജിത്ത് റേയുടെ ഒരു പത്രപഞ്ചാലി എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞ ഫിലിം വലിയ സെൻസേഷണൽ ഫിലിമായിട്ട് വേൾഡിൽ തന്നെ റെക്കഗ്നൈസ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഒരു പടമാണ്. അപ്പൊ അതിനെപ്പറ്റി വാട്ട് ഹാപ്പൻഡ് ഈസ് ഡൽഹി സ്കൂൾ ഓഫ് ഡ്രാമ, പിന്നെ ദർ ആർ ലോട്ട് ഓഫ് associations ഉണ്ടല്ലോ, like cultural societies, they show films and are you listening? Yeah. Cultural associations അവർ ഫിലിമൊക്കെ കാണിച്ചപ്പോൾ നമ്മുടെ കുറച്ച് ഇന്റലക്ച്വൽ ആൾക്കാർ ഈ ഫിലിമിനകത്തെ ഒരു സീൻ, ദിസ് ഈസ് ഒരു ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് സ്റ്റോറി, അത് ഒരു അതിനകത്തെ മേജർ സെൻട്രൽ ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സ് എന്തോ ഒരു ടെൻഷനുള്ള സീൻ ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഇരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ആ സീക്വൻസിനകത്തൊരു പട്ടി കയറി വരും, പട്ടി വന്ന് നോക്കും, പട്ടിയെ തിരിച്ച് പോകുന്ന ഒരു സീക്വൻസ് ഉണ്ട്. Now ഈ ക്രിട്ടിക്സും പീപ്പിൾ ഹു ആർ ദ ക്രിയേറ്റീവ് ആർട്ട് സിനിമാക്കാരൊക്കെ ഈ പടം കണ്ടിട്ട് ഇതിനെ പറ്റി അനലൈസ് ചെയ്യാണ്. എന്താണ് ഈ പട്ടിയുടെ റോൾ ഈ സീനിനകത്ത്? വൈ ദിസ് ഡോഗ് ഹാസ് കം ആൻഡ് ലുക്ക്ഡ് അറ്റ് ദ ക്യാമറ ആൻഡ് ഹാസ് ഗോൺ ബാക്ക് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. ഒരു ടീം പറഞ്ഞു ഇത് സിംബോളിക്കാണ്, അവർ സംസാരിച്ചുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുന്ന മാറ്ററിനകത്ത് ഡയറക്ടർ എന്തോ സിംബോളിക്കായിട്ട് കൺവേ ചെയ്യാൻ ഉദ്ദേശിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, അതാണ് പട്ടി അങ്ങനെ വന്നു പോകുന്നത്. അപ്പൊ ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് പറഞ്ഞു അങ്ങനെയല്ല, അങ്ങനെ ഒരു പട്ടിയെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നെ വലിയൊരു പിന്നെ അൽസേഷൻ അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ഡോഗിനെ കൊണ്ടുവന്ന് കാണിച്ചല്ലേ സിനിമയിലൊക്കെ കാണിക്കുന്നത്, ഇതെന്താ ഒരു സ്ട്രേ ഡോഗ് ഇരിക്കുന്നത്, ഇത് വേറെ ഏതോ ഒരു പിന്നെ മെസ്സേജ് ഡയറക്ടർ കൺവേ ചെയ്യാൻ പോവാണ്. ഭയങ്കര ആർഗ്യുമെന്റ്, അതിനെപ്പറ്റി എന്താ പറയുന്ന ഡിബേറ്റ്സ് നടക്കുന്നു. ഇത് ഇവർ കൊണ്ടുവന്നിട്ട് ഫിലിം ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ട് സ്റ്റുഡൻസിന്റെ കൊടുക്കുന്നു, അവിടെയും ഡിബേറ്റ് ആണ്, എന്താണ് സിഗ്നിഫിക്കൻസ് ഓഫ് ദിസ് ഡോഗ് വെയറിംഗ്. അപ്പൊ സ്റ്റോറീസ് പലരും ഉണ്ടാക്കി, പല കഥകളുണ്ടാക്കി, ഷോട്ട് എടുക്കുന്ന ആ സീനിന്റെ ഡെപ്ത്, പിന്നെ മെയിൽ ക്യാരക്ടേഴ്സിൽ കൂടുതൽ നമുക്ക് ആ സ്റ്റോറി ബാക്ക്ഗ്രൗണ്ട് അറിയില്ല, അത് കാണിക്കാൻ വേണ്ടി ഡോഗിന്റെ പ്രസൻസ് വരുമ്പോൾ അത് അയാൾക്ക് കുറച്ചുകൂടെ ഇത് കൊടുക്കും. ഇങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ ഇന്റർപ്രിട്ടേഷൻ, ഡിബേറ്റ്സ്, ഡിസ്കഷൻസ് ആണ്. ഫൈനലി ആർക്കും ഒരു അന്തം കിട്ടാതിട്ട് ഒരു ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിലെ ഫംഗ്ഷന് സത്യജിത് റേ വന്നു. സത്യജിത് റേ വന്നപ്പോ ഒരു ആള് പറഞ്ഞു, സാർ ഞങ്ങൾക്കൊരു ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ ഉണ്ട്, ഞങ്ങൾ എത്ര ഡിബേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിട്ട് ഒരു കറക്റ്റ് ആൻസർ വി ആർ നോട്ട് ഏബിൾ ടു ഗെറ്റ് ഇറ്റ്, വി ആർ ദിസ് ആർഗ്യൂയിങ്. അവർ ഹോട്ട് ആയിട്ടുണ്ട്. സത്യജിത് റേ ചിരിച്ചിട്ട് പറഞ്ഞു, ഓ മൈ ഗാഡ്, യു വാണ്ട് ടു നോ വാട്ട് എക്സാക്ട്ലി ഈസ് ദ പർപ്പസ്. ഞങ്ങൾ ആ ഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്ത ദിവസം ലാസ്റ്റ് ഷൂട്ട് നടന്നുകൊണ്ടിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഈ ഷോട്ട് എടുത്തു. ആ റോഡിൽ കൂടെ പോയി ഒരു പട്ടി അവിടെ കയറി വന്നു. അത് കഴിഞ്ഞപ്പോൾ എല്ലാവരും സ്റ്റണ്ടായിപ്പോയി, എന്താ ചെയ്യണ്ടേ, ഇതിപ്പോൾ റീഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യണമല്ലോ. റീഷൂട്ട് ചെയ്യാൻ ചെന്നപ്പോൾ ക്യാമറമാൻ പറഞ്ഞു, സാറേ ഫിലിം തീർന്നു പോയി, ഇനി നമ്മുടെ സ്റ്റോക്ക് ഇരിപ്പില്ല ഫിലിം. അതുകൊണ്ട് അന്ന് ഫിലിം വളരെ എക്സ്പെൻസീവ് ആണ്, 100 രൂപയാണ്. അപ്പൊ സത്യത്തിൽ പറഞ്ഞു, ഒരു കാര്യം ചെയ്യും, കീപ് ദാറ്റ് ഷോട്ട്, ആ സീൻ അങ്ങനെ തന്നെ ഇരുന്നോട്ടെ, ഡോണ്ട് മേക്ക് എനി ചേഞ്ചസ്. അങ്ങനെ പത്രപഞ്ചാലിക്ക് അത് സീൻ അങ്ങനെ പോയതാ. ഇതിനെപ്പറ്റിയായിരുന്നു ഇവിടെ മുഴുവൻ ഡിബേറ്റ്, ഡിസ്കഷൻസ്. ഫിലിം ഇൻസ്റ്റിറ്റ്യൂട്ടിലും ദാടിക്കാരും പിന്നെ ക്രിറ്റിക്സും എല്ലാം നടത്തി. എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞതുപോലെ നമ്മുടെ സിനിമയ്ക്കകത്തെ കുറ്റങ്ങൾ കണ്ടുപിടിക്കാനും അതിനെ ക്രിട്ടിസൈസ് ചെയ്യാനും അതിനെ ഇതാക്കാനും ഉള്ള ഒരു ഗ്രൂപ്പ് ഓഫ് ആൾക്കാർ ഇങ്ങനെ നടക്കുക. അവർക്ക് പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റും ഇല്ല. ഇതിനകത്ത് എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടോ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ഞാൻ ഈ ഉണ്ടാക്കിയവനൊക്കെ ഒരു സിനിമ മേക്കിംഗ് ഈസ് എ വെരി കോംപ്ലിക്കേറ്റഡ് പ്രോസസ്, വെരി ഡിഫിക്കൽട്ട് പ്രോസസ്. അതിനെ ക്രിട്ടിസൈസ് ചെയ്യാൻ വളരെ ഈസി അല്ലേ. അതിങ്ങനെ ശരിയായില്ല, ഇതിങ്ങനെ ശരിയായില്ല എന്ന് പറയുക. ഓക്കെ, ഇഫ് ഇറ്റ് ഇസ് എ ബാഡ് ഫിലിം യു ക്യാൻ സേ, ബട്ട് നോട്ട് ക്രിട്ടിസൈസിങ് ഫോർ ക്രിട്ടിസൈസിങ് സേക്ക്. അതാണ് നമുക്ക് ഈ ആർട്ട് സിനിമക്കാരെ പറ്റി, അവരുടെ ഐഡിയകളെ പറ്റി. അവര് വെറുതെ, എന്റെ അനുഭവത്തിൽ 1-2 പ്രൊഡക്ഷനിൽ ഞാൻ പെട്ടുപോയിട്ടുണ്ട്. പ്രൊഡ്യൂസേഴ്സിന്റെ അടുത്ത് അവര് പിന്നെ ഇത് അവാർഡ് കിട്ടും, മറ്റേത് കിട്ടും, പിന്നെ തിയേറ്ററിൽ അങ്ങനെ ഓടും എന്നൊക്കെ പറയും. ഒന്നും നടക്കാറില്ല. സോ ബെറ്റർ ഡു ബിസിനസ് മീൻസ് ബിസിനസ്, നോ ആർട്ട്. അല്ലെങ്കിൽ കൊള്ളാം, people are there. There are films which are made only for academic purpose. Yes, I have seen such films. Even കഴിഞ്ഞ വർഷമൊക്കെ അവാർഡ് കിട്ടിയ ഫിലിംസ് ഒക്കെ, they were made in a small budget and academically brilliant films. That is only for that competition. തിയേറ്ററിൽ അത് ഓടുക, തിയേറ്ററിൽ കാശ് കിട്ടുക എന്നുള്ളത് നടക്കുകയില്ല. Why to misguide a producer and put him also in the problems? And today they have academic films in the market on worldwide. All satellite channels are buying it. പിന്നെ ഈ ഫിലിം ഫെസ്റ്റിവലുകാർ മേടിക്കുന്നുണ്ട്, OTT platforms are buying it. So why not? You make money out of it. That's good.
Jimmy, would you like to come in and comment on this topic of art and commercial, and art versus commercial?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty much on the same page when it comes to that. I'm not the biggest enthusiast of purely art house movies. There are some movies that I watched at festivals that are just too artsy for my own taste, and I'm also a big fan of art and commercialism blending into another. For example, my favorite directors, I think all directed movies in the commercial sector, like Alfred Hitchcock, for example. His movies were very commercial, but that doesn't mean that they are not artful. So I think blending those two elements together is the kind of cinema that I'm mostly drawn to, but each their own. So I'm happy that every things are produced and out there, and yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Jimmy, for that as well.
Oh, sorry, Jimmy, I didn't catch the name of the director. You just
Alfred Hitchcock. Movies like Rear Window, they are so artful, but they were also, of course, commercial movies. So I think a movie should first and foremost always be kind of entertaining, or at least challenging the audience in an entertaining way. Because if it's not entertaining and you're just bored, then it can be as artful as it wants. It can have a great message, but if it's a drag, if it's boring, who wants to watch it?
I was getting very excited. I thought you found a director that we didn't know in Malayalam.
So great, Vinata. So, ചില ക്ലോസിംഗ് ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻസ് സൂചേട്ടാ,
എനിക്ക് ഞാൻ ചോദിച്ചാൽ, ഇത്രയും ഗോസിപ്പ് ഇതൊക്കെ ഉണ്ടായിട്ട് ഇത്രയും വർഷം ഫീൽഡിൽ ഇരുന്നിട്ട് വിജയകുമാറിന് ഫാമിലി ലൈഫുമായിട്ട് എങ്ങനെയൊക്കെ എന്തെങ്കിലും അവിടെയും ഗോസിപ്പുകളൊക്കെ ആരെങ്കിലും കൊണ്ട് കൊടുക്കുമായിരുന്നോ എന്നുള്ളതാണ്.
Gossip has no boundaries anyway. So you have to outlive the gossip boundaries and move on. That is the only way, escape route from this. Either, for various reasons, various people, various temperaments, it keeps coming, it keeps going. That's it. And once you are into this industry, you will also get immune to this gossip business and go with it.
അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെയാണെങ്കിൽ ഇപ്പൊ ഞാൻ കാണുന്നത്, ഞാൻ ഈ ചോദ്യത്തോട് ഞാൻ നിർത്താം. പക്ഷെ എന്നാലും 7 hours തുടങ്ങിയിട്ട് 7x7 49 എത്തി ഇപ്പൊ പടം ഏകദേശം. അപ്പൊ ഇനി 17 കഴിഞ്ഞ് വരട്ടെ എന്ന് ആദ്യം ഞങ്ങളുടെയൊക്കെ ഒരു വിശ്വസം കൂടെ തന്നിട്ട്, എനിക്കൊരു ചോദ്യം, കലയുടെ മെമ്പേഴ്സിന് ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ഒരു ഫിലിം പ്രൊഡ്യൂസ് ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് തോന്നിയാൽ വിജയകുമാറിനെ അപ്രോച്ച് ചെയ്ത് കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ പറയാനും അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ചെയ്യാനും ഒക്കെ അല്ലെങ്കിൽ അഡ്വൈസ് കൊടുക്കാനെങ്കിലും പറ്റുമോ എന്നുള്ളതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ ആർക്കെങ്കിലും ആക്ട് ചെയ്യണം തോന്നി കഴിഞ്ഞാൽ ഇവിടെ
രണ്ടും ചെയ്യാം. ബോത്ത്. only thing they should come with an open mind for the simple reason, ചിലർ പ്രീ സെറ്റ് മൈൻഡുമായിട്ട് പ്രീ കമ്മിറ്റ്മെന്റ്സുമായിട്ട് വന്നിട്ട് ഈ ചുമ്മാതെ എന്തെങ്കിലുമൊക്കെ ചോദിച്ച പേരിനും പോയി മണ്ടത്തരത്തി ചാടും. they make such blunders. Many of them are doing. In fact, Malayalam industry the biggest curse is people from outside, whether it is from Dubai, from UK or USA, they get carried away by some reason or some interest, and somebody in between, broker fellows are there, they bring them, and really they lose their money, they lose their name, they lose everything, and some of them even sell their properties and get back. So when they come, number one, they have the inclination or the why they want to make a film, they should be convinced. Yes, some people will say it is my passion, I want to make a film, I am willing to take, because in any business and film industry, all the more there is a risk element which nobody can say zero. If you are very, very lucky, you can do some tie-up and do some business pre-deals and ensure that your losses are minimized or it becomes zero. But so our element of risk is there, cinema, number one. Number two, he must have a commitment to do the quality, our preparation, and not just get carried away by some people around in the industry and get lost track of it. No, if they are serious, I, with my experience and contacts, will certainly give the best of help if anybody from Kala comes at any point of time, and definitely do whatever support they need, advice, whether in the making or in the marketing, they can definitely do it. 100%.
Thank you for that.
സുരേഷ്,
എൻ്റെ ഒരു പേഴ്സണൽ കമൻ്റ് ആണ്. ഇത് എല്ലാവർക്കും അക്സെപ്റ്റബിൾ ആകണമെന്നില്ല. ഈ സ്വാതി തിരുനാളെന്ന് പറയുന്നത് ഒരു ബയോപിക്കാണ്. ബയോപിക് എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ അത് കാലത്തിന് മുമ്പേ എടുത്തൊരു ബയോപിക്കാണ്. കാരണം ഇപ്പോൾ ഹിന്ദി സിനിമയിൽ പോലും ബാൽ താക്കറയുടെയും മിൽഖാ സിംഗിൻ്റെയും ഒക്കെ ബയോപിക് കഴിഞ്ഞ 2-3 വർഷമായിട്ടാണ് വന്നത്. ഇത് എത്രയോ വർഷം മുമ്പ് എടുത്തൊരു ബയോപിക്കാണ്. ഒന്ന്, ആ സിനിമ സക്സസ്ഫുൾ ആകാതിരുന്നതിൻ്റെ ഒരു കാരണം ഈ മഹാരാജാവിനോട് ആ സിനിമ നീതി ചെയ്തിട്ടില്ല ഡയറക്ടർ. കാരണം വെച്ചാൽ അത് ചരിത്രപരമായ വളരെയധികം തെറ്റുകൾ ആ മൂവിയുടെ സ്ക്രിപ്റ്റിൽ പറ്റിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. കാരണം കേരളം കണ്ട ഇന്ത്യ കണ്ട നാട്ടുരാജാക്കന്മാരിൽ ഏറ്റവും മഹാനായ രാജാവായിരുന്നു സ്വാതി തിരുനാൾ. 32 വയസ്സുള്ള അദ്ദേഹം സംഗീതം മാത്രമല്ല 12 ഭാഷകളിൽ എഴുതി. അതുകൂടാതെ കേരളത്തിലുണ്ടായിട്ടുള്ള എല്ലാ ഭരണപരിഷ്കാരങ്ങളുടെയും, അതായത് ഇംഗ്ലീഷ് വിദ്യാഭ്യാസം, ട്രാൻസ്പോർട്ട്, ഹജൂർ കച്ചേരികൾ, സെക്രട്ടേറിയറ്റ്, നക്ഷത്ര ബംഗ്ലാവ്, ഇങ്ങനെ എല്ലാം ചെയ്ത മനുഷ്യനാണ്. പക്ഷേ നമ്മളൊരു ഔട്ട്സൈഡറായിട്ട് ഈ സ്വാതി തിരുനാൾ കണ്ടാൽ ഇതിനകത്ത് ലെനിൻ സ്വാതി തിരുനാളിനെ ഒരു വിഷയലംബടനായിട്ടാണ് ചിത്രീകരിച്ചിരിക്കുന്നത്. അത് അങ്ങേയറ്റത്തെ ഒരു ബ്ലണ്ടറായിപ്പോയി. കാരണം ഇത്രയും മഹാനായ ഒരു വ്യക്തിയെ ഒരു ദാസിക്ക് വേണ്ടി ജീവിതം അടിമപ്പെടുത്തിയ പോലെ ചിത്രീകരിച്ചു. നാച്ചുറലി പ്രേക്ഷകർ ഓടിപ്പോയി. അതാ കാര്യം ഉണ്ടായത്. കാരണം പറയാൻ കാര്യം, ആ സമയത്ത് വെഞ്ഞാറമൂടിൽ ഒരു നാടക കലാസംഘം, നമ്മുടെ കാളിദാസ കലാകേന്ദ്രം പോലെ, അവരൊരു സ്വാതി തിരുനാൾ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞൊരു നാടകം ഉണ്ടാക്കി. അത് ഞാൻ തൃശ്ശൂർ വർക്ക് ചെയ്യുമ്പോൾ ആ നാടകം ഞാൻ കണ്ടു. ദാറ്റ്സ് എ ഫാന്റാസ്റ്റിക് ഡ്രാമ. അതായത് സ്വാതി തിരുനാളിൻ്റെ ആക്ച്വൽ ക്രിയേഷൻസ് മുഴുവൻ ചിത്രീകരിച്ചൊരു നല്ല ഡ്രാമയായിരുന്നു. അതുകൂടെ കണ്ടപ്പോഴാണ് എനിക്ക് മനസ്സിലായത് ഇത് ഈ മൂവിക്ക് പറ്റിയൊരു ചെറിയ കുഴപ്പമാണ്. കാരണം ഒരു ബയോപിക് ഉണ്ടാക്കുമ്പോൾ ഈ ബയോപിക്കിനോട് നമ്മൾ 100% നീതി പുലർത്തണം. ഇപ്പം ബാൽ താക്കറെ, സിയാവുദ്ദീൻ സിദ്ദീഖി അഭിനയിച്ച ബാൽ താക്കറയുടെ ബയോപിക് ഇസ് എക്സാക്ട്ലി ലൈക്ക് ബാൽ താക്കറെ, അല്ലെങ്കിൽ മിൽഖാ സിംഗിനെ പറ്റി ഉണ്ടാക്കിയത്. അപ്പോൾ ഇത് അദ്ദേഹത്തിൻ്റെ ശരിക്കുള്ള ക്രിയേറ്റിവിറ്റി കൊണ്ടുവരാൻ ലെനിന് സാധിച്ചില്ല. അതായിരിക്കും അത് പരാജയപ്പെടാൻ കാരണം.
You are 100% right. But there is one more reason. ഒരു ബയോപിക്കിന് limitations ഉണ്ട് എപ്പോഴും. See, a cinema has to be an entertainer by itself, number one. ഇതിനകത്ത് നമ്മളത് കണ്ട ഏക സെല്ലിംഗ് സേഫ്റ്റി എലിമെന്റ് ബ്യൂട്ടിഫുൾ മ്യൂസിക് ആൻഡ് ഡാൻസിനുള്ള സ്കോപ്പ് ഉണ്ടല്ലോ. സോ ബ്ലെൻഡ് ഓഫ് മ്യൂസിക് ആൻഡ് ഡാൻസ് കുഡ് കംഫർട്ടബിളി ഫിറ്റ് ഇൻ. എനിക്ക് തോന്നുന്നു ഫ്രം ലെനിൻ what he thought is one man, two women element is a selling element in cinema. Always.
അല്ലല്ല, അത് ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് അത് സ്വാതി തിരുനാളിനിട്ട് വേണ്ടായിരുന്നു.
അല്ല, പക്ഷെ ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ, ഹിസ്റ്ററിയിൽ അങ്ങനെ എന്തോ ഉണ്ടെന്ന് പറയുന്നുണ്ട്. ഐ ഡോണ്ട് നോ റിയലി.
He had affection for that lady. അപ്പൊ അങ്ങനെ ഇന്ത്യയിലെ എല്ലാ സംഗീതജ്ഞന്മാരെയും തിരുവനന്തപുരത്ത് കൊട്ടാരത്തിൽ കിട്ടി താമസിപ്പിക്കുകയും ഫീഡ് ചെയ്യുകയും അവാർഡുകൾ കൊടുക്കുകയും ഒക്കെ ചെയ്ത മനുഷ്യനാണ്. അപ്പൊ ഈ സ്ത്രീയോടും ഉണ്ടായിരുന്ന ഒരു അഭിരുചി എന്ന് വെച്ച് അങ്ങനെ വിശേഷപ്പെടണമെന്നും അല്ലായിരുന്നു.
ഒരു കാര്യം കൂടെ ഉണ്ട്. തഞ്ചാവൂരിൽ നിന്ന് ആ സ്ത്രീയെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നത് അവർ അത്രത്തോളം ആർട്ടിനെ സ്നേഹിച്ചിരുന്ന സ്ത്രീയായിരുന്നു. അവൾ ആ സ്ത്രീയെയും ഇദ്ദേഹം സ്നേഹിച്ചിരുന്നു എന്നുള്ള ഒരു ഇതാണ്, ഒരു ആസ്പെക്ട് മാത്രമേ ഉള്ളൂ. അങ്ങനെ ഒരു ആർട്ട് ഫോമിലുള്ള ഒരു സ്നേഹമായി കണക്കാക്കി കൂടി, അല്ലാതെ മറ്റു തരത്തിലേക്ക് എടുക്കേണ്ട ആവശ്യമുണ്ടോ?
പക്ഷെ എന്താ ഈ എന്നുള്ള നിലയിൽ അങ്ങേരുടെ കഴിവുകൾക്ക് സംഗീതത്തിന് കൊടുത്ത പോലെ തന്നെ അതിനോടൊരു പ്രാധാന്യം കൊടുക്കുകയായിരുന്നെങ്കിൽ it would have been a better output. അതാ ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത്.
അല്ലാതെ that brought in little criticism, no doubt about it. But anyway, somehow അതിന്റെ casting or whatever it is, അത് മലയാളത്തിൽ അങ്ങോട്ട് ഒരു ഇമ്പാക്ട് ഉണ്ടാക്കില്ല as a film.
അതല്ലേ ശരിയാ.
Music and dance in the scope is very much there in that subject plot. It could have been probably made better, നമുക്ക് ഇപ്പൊ തോന്നുന്നു, but somehow it's all gone. But music still remains
definitely.
He was great.
There is one question on YouTube from Anthony Jennings. He's been patiently listening from the beginning. He's an international listener. I think one of the followers of Jimmy. I think it is a question for Vijayakumar Chetan. He is asking, any plans to take Malayalam films to international audience?
Yes, you can tell him. He's online or you have to...
He can hear it because it's on YouTube, so he'll see.
No, Malayalam films, once this OTT direct to home reach facility is established, which I believe is going to happen, if that facility is established, Malayalam film can definitely go to the international market, and there will be a non-Malayali good percentage of viewers gradually liking more and more, Malayalam films. Malayalam film deserve to be into that category, and from among the Indian films, if you take Malayalam films, will be either number one or in that category to go international. That much we are sure.
And I think Babu Chetan has made a comment on here in relation to the topic in discussion. He's saying that there is a difference between a documentary and a movie. Babu Chetan, do you want to come on and say something on that? Hello, did you hear me?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry, ഞാനത് ജസ്റ്റ് ഒന്ന് കമൻറ്റ് ചെയ്തതാണ്, അത് പറയാൻ വേണ്ടിയല്ല. അല്ല, ഞാനത് നമ്മൾ ഇരുവറായിരുന്നാലും ഇരുവർ ഞാൻ അടുത്തടുത്തിട്ട് ഒന്നുകൂടെ കണ്ടായിരുന്നു. അപ്പം ഇറ്റ്സ് ഒബ്വിയസ്ലി ഇപ്പം MGR-ആയിട്ട് ഒത്തിരി വ്യത്യാസമുണ്ട്. പക്ഷേ അതുപോലെ ചോദിച്ചിരുന്നാലും ഐ തിങ്ക് വെൻ ഡയറക്ടർ ഈസ് മേക്കിംഗ് എ മൂവി, ഈ പ്രോബ്ലി വാണ്ട് ടു ഡു ഇറ്റ് ഇൻ എ ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് ആംഗിൾ ആൻഡ് ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് സെറ്റപ്പിൽ ചെയ്യണമെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നത്. കറക്റ്റായിട്ട് നമ്മൾ ഹിസ്റ്റോറിക്കൽ ഫാക്ട്സ് അത്ര ആവണമെന്ന് തോന്നുന്നില്ലെന്നാണ് എൻ്റെ ഒരു ഫീലിംഗ്. ജസ്റ്റ് പറഞ്ഞതേ ഉള്ളൂ.
Yeah, when you make a movie, you are bound to take some freedom. ഇല്ലേ നടക്കില്ല. Documentary, yes, you can be 100% authentic and everything in a documentary, but in a film, yes, you have to either don't attempt such subjects, or if you attempt, you have to take little liberty and make it. You see, film means it should entertain, it should be interesting to watch, you should sit through, and you, after seeing, you should at least say, yeah, it is good, worth watching. So what all the ingredients required for it must be there. So truthful to the facts and realities alone means it becomes documentary. There you can be truthful. Yes.
But there's a comment on this by Vincent as well, Vincent Chitlapalli, saying that the divide, in his opinion, the divide between art and commercial has thinned down over the last 10 to 15 years. So people are
well, what he said, it is narrowing, but it is not thinned down to say it is thinned down. No, it may narrow down.
എന്തായാലും നമുക്ക് 5 ദശകങ്ങൾ മാത്രമല്ല, നമുക്ക് ഇന്ന് പിന്നെ 3 മണിക്കൂറിൽ ഏറെ നമ്മൾക്ക് വേണ്ടി സമയം തന്ന്.
My pleasure. Yeah.
One more question only. I think Malini has a question. Okay. You might want to ask them if they want to come and ask that.
Who's that? Sorry?
Malini and Vishweshwaran.
Oh yeah, that's just coming now. Sorry. Malini and Vishweshwaran, would you like to ask the question directly then?
You're on mute, I think.
Malini, you're on mute.
Still on mute.
Yeah,
You're still on mute.
All right. Okay. Alright. എന്റെ പേര് മാലിനി എന്നാണ്. നമസ്കാരം സർ. എനിക്ക് സാറിന്റെ കുറെ മൂവീസ് വലിയ ഇഷ്ടമാണ്. Swadhinal is one of my favorite movies. Mainly because of the songs and Anand Nand. എനിക്ക് ഭയങ്കര I like his. Why did you choose him as the great Swadhinal?
Well, that time when this movie was conceived, there was opinion and finally narrowed down to a decision that ഒരു existing Malayalam artist സ്വാധീനമായിട്ട് കാസ്റ്റ് ചെയ്താൽ it can always bring in more criticism. So why not look for a face which is not familiar to the Malayalam viewers, so that what സ്വാധീനനാൾ എന്നുള്ളതും നമുക്ക് വലിയ പിടിയില്ല, but the artist coming also will not be known to them in any other form. So outside Malayalam, I mean, ഒരു ആർട്ടിസ്റ്റ് വേണമെന്ന് പറഞ്ഞു. അപ്പോൾ among the choices, this Anand was supposed to be doing some selected good films and all those things. Yes, so we approached him. He was supposed to be, and his brother also was doing excellent projects those days, Shankar Naik. So we made an approach, and he's interested, excited, and said, "Chalo, let us try." Whether it that's how it happened. Yes.
എനിക്ക് വളരെ ഇൻട്രസ്റ്റിംഗ് ചോയ്സ് ആണെന്ന് തോന്നിയിട്ടുണ്ട്. Swadhinal is a very prominent person in terms of art and culture and music, not just in Kerala അല്ലേ, എല്ലായിടത്തും.
Correct.
ആ സമയത്ത് മലയാളികൾക്ക് അറിയാത്തൊരു ഫേസ്, അധികം കാണാത്ത ഫേസ്, ബട്ട് ഹീസ് എ തിയേറ്റർ ആക്ടർ, ഫാന്റാസ്റ്റിക് ആക്ടർ, ഐ എം നോട്ട് സേയിങ് നോ, ബട്ട് അറിയാണ്ട് പെട്ടെന്ന് വേറൊരാളെ കൊണ്ടുവന്നത് ഓൾവേസ് എ ക്വസ്റ്റ്യൻ. ഹീസ് ഡൺ എ ഫാബുലസ് ജോബ്. ഐ കാൺട്ട് blame.
I know sometimes it works in cinema, in commercial circuit, sometimes a new face works, sometimes it doesn't work. So it's
you're
all
a good
chance.
actor. I think Malayaligal, as long as you can act well, Malayalis just take it to heart.
And then one more Hindi artist came and did a movie also long back in Malayalam, but outside artists, especially male, female, they can come act and go, nobody bothers. But male artist coming from outside and doing, it doesn't work.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. See the history. Who was there? No
I notice it. Rajat Kapoor and Agni Sakshi. That's true. Oh, he's done a really good job.
That was also not a commercial venture.
Not at all.
Not at all a commercial. Not at all. In fact, Smita Patel made a good name in that movie and award also. I think she got some awards also. But as a movie, and especially in the theatre circuit, zero. Nothing did it. So,
very true.
Yeah. That also failure, miserable failure. No, film was a failure. Theatrically, I'm telling you.
Actually, I think in that movie, he has done a better job than the actress, I believe, who was quite well known at that time. I think
yes.
To Nitesh Bharadwaj.
Chances. These are chances. Sometimes it works. It doesn't work. We don't know.
Great. Okay.
I think we have kind of gone through the questions as well. So ഒരിക്കൽ കൂടി വിജയകുമാർ ചേട്ടന് പിന്നെ ഇത്രയും നേരം നമുക്ക് തന്നതിനും 5 ദശകത്തിലേറെ നമുക്ക് ഇത്ര മനോഹരമായ സിനിമകളും ഓർമ്മകളും ഒക്കെ തന്നതിനുള്ള വളരെ വലിയൊരു താങ്ക്സ് പറഞ്ഞുകൊണ്ട് ഞാൻ ഈ സെഗ്മെന്റിലെ താങ്ക്സ് അറിയിക്കുന്നു. താങ്ക് യു.
I thank you all, and we'll continue to be associated. Let's keep in touch and be with it. Okay.
Yeah.
And same to Jimmy.
Yeah.
Nice talking.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, from my perspective also, I think today's it's taken more than 3 hours. We only planned it for 2, but
it went on for 3 years.
Yeah. So the reason why as our guest said, you've agreed to stay on. We are very, very thankful. There's a lot of information that that was new to all of us. So thank you very much, Vijayakumar Chetan, and thank you very much, Jimmy, because we had allowed you to leave quietly if you wanted to, but you wanted to stay on, and we really appreciate that.
Yeah, I didn't want to miss the chance to listen to his stories, and AJ was so nice to translate it simultaneously on WhatsApp. So I was trying to keep up, and it was awesome.
Excellent. So this time, yeah, we are letting everybody go, but before that, let me just officially close the
1
streaming.
minute. No, I think I should thank you, Sri Ram, Unni, Ajay, and Sri P, and for working behind to make this one, including Suresh. Everyone, yes, yeah, of course, working for this one, and this is and the cooperation and the friendly communication Jimmy had, and Jayakumar involved with this one. It was a very good evening. I enjoyed thoroughly. I am sure everyone has done it, and everyone. Thank you as well to all listeners as well. Thank you.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you for people on YouTube. So we are going to stop the live stream, and hopefully, I think we will probably arrange another session, because this has just gone on and on. So there may be another follow-up session at some point. So thank you very much, and have a good rest of your evening, and let England win the Euro Cup.
Yeah, wonderful football happening now. So nice and meeting all of you and interacting, and everything went on well. We will have more occasions, and look